including me. All right, pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. It's December 22nd. It is 4:03. Let's go over the December 8th minutes. Did council see anything that needs to be corrected or changed? No. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Make a motion to accept the December 8th, 2020 minutes as presented.
We have a second. With the seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Pass unanimously. December 15th special session minutes. I wasn't here, so everything looked.
It's okay with me. I'm sure.
That's what I remember. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the special session minutes of December 15th as presented.
I do see one change.
What's that?
This is December 15th at 9 a.m. on the top of the name. She was at 8:15.
Okay, so when was it called to order?
8:17.
Okay.
So I make a motion to pass the December 15th minutes as adjusted with the time.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? And it passed with the correction of the title. The title time change from 9 o'clock to 8:15. Okay. Got a couple bills we got to pay this time of the month. It's when our power is due. Total $2,151.74. Entertain a motion to pay the bill to OTEC for $2,151.74.
Make a motion to pay OTEC $2,151.74.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed?
Is that a monthly bill
Yes.
for the city?
Okay, John, you want to give us an update on planning?
Yeah, do you want me up there?
You can right here, stay right there. It's fine.
Okay.
He's
Last
supposed to be on camera.
Oh, there we go. Forget about that. He's got to walk. It's stupid. That's why I was saying, but yeah.
Last two meetings, we have not had any applications, so we've been working on the ordinances, looking for corrections that we will bring to council. What we need now is guidance from the council. What does council see as the role of the planning commission in the future? Because how you see us operating is going to influence how we adjust or the recommendations we bring to you to adjust the ordinance. So, I think you're familiar with how planning has operated for the past decade, 11, 12 years. If that's the role you want us to keep, or do you want us to take another role? That's just kind of what we need to know.
All right.
And until you let us know, we're kind of handicapped on how we can work on the ordinance.
Linda,
Well, since we just have been working on our own ordinance in regards to some things that were, what I'm planning, would it be a benefit for us to have a workshop with the two groups?
I think it would.
And sit down and we'll let you know what we would like, and see what works out, so we get a flow, and there's no misunderstandings. I think in the past, there's kind of been a flow problem. So if we all sit down and spend an hour or so saying this is what we need, then that would work for you,
That
John.
would work. I think that worked for the commission. And in a workshop, while you guys don't have to make any formal decision, you can, but at least you could give us some guidelines. So we kind of know where we're aiming, and we can always adjust the process, the final process later on. So,
Sure. Sure.
That would be my.
What's the best timing for that? After, between the two next coming holidays, Christmas and New Year's, or after New Year's?
between Christmas and New Year's would be fine. John, remember, what do you think?
Well, yeah. Next week.
Next week sometime?
I think so.
First is Friday. So that leaves us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday morning.
I'm not going anywhere.
No.
You're good.
And that work for you guys?
Yeah, I just need to, I gotta go to Olympia sometime next week. So,
Why don't we get it over with Monday morning?
What works for you?
Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
What works for you guys?
Tuesday morning would be better
Okay.
for me.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
yeah, we have a meeting Tuesday, or no, we don't have a meeting.
No, we don't. We don't have one
No,
till
yeah, that's fine.
into, so what time?
Earlier, better. I mean, you've been doing that.
Not 8:15.
Well, you got, I think it's up to Charlie, because there's a lot of snow coming.
Is there?
We're forecasting for snow for a week.
It changes daily.
Yeah,
You done plowing by 10?
Well,
Yeah, it depends on, normally I'd say yes, but it depends, because it's between Christmas and New Year's, and if there's people here that need to be plowed out, or if they're coming up for the New Year's.
I mean, 11 an hour should suffice. It's to, you'd explain to us how it's been done in the past, and how the assets.
Oh, yeah,
We're
we
looking
raise
at
lunch.
our growth going
You
forward.
wanna do it at 10, Charlie?
That's fine.
10
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
That way it doesn't interfere.
10 o'clock Tuesday,
Tuesday, the 29th.
29 Tuesday, and, John knows. I'll get hold of Stillman and I'll get hold of Terry. Let them know, so. And Dorothy? And Dorothy, yeah. Renee, can you let Dorothy know? I think I may have a number for her, but I'm not sure.
All right, so the 29th, December 29th, next Tuesday, 10 a.m. here, planning workshop.
We'll do a workshop.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Great.
You too.
Right.
Anything else?
We're,
I know you guys got a fun, exciting meeting ahead.
yes.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
I'm
Christmas.
going home and get back to my church.
Yes, thank you for coming. Okay, so let me give you,
Let's do these first. Do these before we do these.
okay, I was gonna do something else here, but let's do that.
We'll get them out of the way.
Yeah, get them out of the way. City contractors, we discussed, hiring a couple of particular companies for city plumber or city electrician for small repairs. Just somebody that's a go-to guy, is under our threshold, I haven't put everything out to bid. We've had good experience with Ron Bell, Powder River Electric, and Robin, with Advanced Plumbing. You guys kind of left it, up to me to talk with our city employees, find out who they're comfortable with. Ron Bell,
What's his company's name?
Powder River. So, Robin has been up here the last couple of days. He is the guy that put in our our UV system across the river for the two residents over there. He's also very familiar with our water plant. He's working up there today. Ron Bell is very familiar with all the buildings. And that would be my only concern is somebody that is familiar with it, because some of them date back quite a ways, so. Right now, our threshold for being forced to put things out to bid is $500. So anything under that, this would, our approval of these two would give Renee and Jeff and Tim the authority to go ahead and schedule them for any repairs and informing council. So, okay,
My only concern is it still doesn't mean they still need to let know, somebody can,
yes,
council know that even if it's $300 that they're calling somebody out. It just isn't a pre-arranged, they can just call them.
no, right, no, all of the procedures stay in place.
Just so they understand that.
Yes,
I have no problem with it.
anybody else?
Who's Robin work for?
He owns Advanced Point.
Oh, okay. Is he from Baker?
He's from the Grand, actually. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve Advanced Plumbing as the go-to city plumber for small repairs.
I make a motion that we use Advanced Plumbing as our city plumber for small repairs.
A second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye, all opposed. Advanced Plumbing has been approved to be our go-to city plumber. And the second one would be Powder River Electric to be the city's go-to electrician for small repairs or new installs.
Make a motion to make Ron Bell of Powder River Electric our go-to electrician in the city center.
There's a second.
Small repairs.
And a second? All second. All in favor? All opposed? I voted aye. Passed unanimously. Renee, if you could just jot off a letter to them, informing them of that decision.
Asking if they want to be our go-to.
I know they do, but yeah, ask them to RSVP for confirmation. Okay, let me, let's deal with employee trainings. The boys and Renee have been taking various trainings. The city has well, I don't know if the city has paid for anything yet for your training, Renee. Nothing yet. So that's the issue. The boys have taken some paid classes for water and sewer. If we are asking her to better her skills and knowledge, isn't it up to the city to finance that training?
Yes.
So,
We budgeted about 4,500 for training and we already touched it.
haven't touched it,
And
yeah.
the budget last year.
Renee, why don't you update us a little bit on the training you've been taking and then what you know that's coming up you'd like to take?
Well, there's multiple classes, but I've taken 2 separate grant writing classes. And LOC classes, and then some of the Jurassic parliamentary classes through the CMC program, or IIMC, which is the Certified Municipal Recorder, or Certified Municipal Clerk Certification Training course. And so some of those I've gotten scholarships. I'm still waiting for that money back. I've already, because you have to pay for it in advance, and then you apply for the scholarship, and once you pass the class, which you did, then I have to apply, then I have to send them my certification, so it was a matter of waiting for my certificates and blah, blah, blah. So, at this point, I'm just waiting for that scholarship money to come back, and then I can take that scholarship money and roll it over and take some more classes. But there's about 30 hours of different trainings that I need to take in order to become a certified clerk, municipal clerk. So that's my goal going forward, is to become have my CMC.
Are these classes available on your time frame, or are they scheduled?
Yeah, no, some of them are scheduled, and some of them I can take, like the grant writing class, I just paid for it myself. It was through TVCC, and so that those credits apply to the CMC program certification. So some of it is just me finding it online and doing it, and TVCC has a pretty good program. And then there's Ed2Go also is online, it's an online program, certifying different trainings.
Can you provide council with a list of what the classes are that you have taken?
Yeah, because I have to provide that to the IMC in order to,
You're certain?
yeah. So when I apply and when I turn in my stuff to them, I can just totally send it to you guys.
Okay.
What have you paid for pocket though? Could you, those gonna be reimbursement grants or? are they not?
No, not all of it. Like the class that I took at TVCC and the one I took through Ed2Go is not reimbursable. It's not, there was no scholarship for it, but I wanted the information and it just betters me, so I paid for the class, so I have the knowledge.
I think we should be reimbursing her for.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking if you can give us a list of,
But I don't want to take advantage of the city either. I mean, it's my education.
Right, because we're gonna utilize your education for a better the city.
and that's why I think, Renee, it would be beneficial to everybody if you give us a list of everything that's available. And then we as council can go through and determine, okay, these will have a definite, direct application to your work here, and those will be sponsored by the council or the city. And we'll pay for those, and then if there's something that's kind of outside of what we think the parameters are, that you still want to do it, that would be up to.
Yeah, well, all the classes I'm taking, all the classes I'm taking to the IMC is directed toward
Yes.
being a clerk.
Do you take them during office hours, or is it something you take after hours?
Both. If it's a video, I'll turn the video on and listen to it as I'm doing other things. Like there was the one where I did close down for the Jurassic Parliamentary. That was, and I have to be on screen the whole time, but I don't have to, it's just the training, so I just take notes, but I can still assist customers and stuff, but some of it I've done on my own time.
It is kind of nice, because the one she takes, I sneak in and sit away from the camera, and I can listen to them, and take part in it too, without paying for it. I just sit in the corner. COVID's nice in some ways.
She doesn't get the
Right.
certificate, she doesn't get the certificate or verification that she took the course, but she gets the information.
It's like audit. So, how many classes have you paid for so far?
5.
I guess about
Oh, probably $600.
Okay, and what percentage of that do you think if you got a grant that are available, grants are available?
Well, it's a grant, but it's a scholarship, and, the two of them, they were $100 classes. And two of them, that's what I'm working on getting back, because I just had $200 of my own money, and so I was just gonna keep rolling that $200 over. When I get the scholarship back, I'll take 2 more classes, and when I get that scholarship back, I'll take 2 more classes. That was my plan. So, but, it's gonna take about 2 years to get this all complete, because they don't have all the classes all the time. So, and some of it is up-to-date things where you have to go to trainings, but now they have them online. So you don't have to go. So that's kind of a benefit is there now learning how to get everything online. So then I don't have to travel and I don't have to put money out for travel expenses. So it's kind of
So your initial was $200 initial out.
nice. But then the parliamentary or the grant writing class was $150 per class, and I had 2 of those classes.
So, first of all, we need to come to agreement to, if the city's gonna pay for all the training. And then 2, how we're gonna handle what she's put out the deposit so far.
I'm not asking you for reimbursement.
Oh, we know.
No.
And then address how to pay for trainings in the future. What process. So,
Well, I think the grant writing is a benefit to the city. I mean, it's definitely classes that,
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to
Yeah.
be able to go forward with the firehouse
yeah,
to see what.
I think that's something that we would have wanted to be taken in the first place if we know, if they were available. So
Yeah, because
I don't think
didn't we,
we had a thought.
when we were doing our budget, that was one of the things, the reason why we did it, and that's the reason why we set the budget up for it, was because the people that we were gonna hire, whoever they were, for training.
Right. Right.
So that decision was pretty much made back in when we did the budget. And not knowing what we were doing or what we were up against. That sounds like we're still within that realm.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I don't think we
under that umbrella.
put it in.
But of course, it's really nice because, you know, yeah, Renee may be here doing her work and at the same time taking a class, but in the other, without COVID being here, we closed the office and left and traveled to a class.
Right.
You know, so, and we would, and we would have been paying more money, so kudos to COVID.
I don't know about that.
There's a bright side to every so.
Well, like I said, though, with this going forward, if she's come, because of where we are with other things that's come forth, if she's comfortable doing what she's doing, then I would say that she should get her $400 back, because basically she's going to get her other $200 back that she's going to reinvest.
Well, she doesn't know she's gonna get the scholarship.
Yeah.
You haven't received word of whether you better work.
No, but it took a little while for the certificates to get in
Sure.
after I took the class, and then I had to put it in. With COVID, people are in the office, aren't in the office, so it takes a little while to process all that stuff, so.
So it's actually
But she should have
500 that you put out right now.
6,
No, 5.
5.
Yeah, 2 and 3. Yeah.
So we can handle that 2 ways. We could reimburse her for all of it, and when she gets the scholarships that she does, then reimburse the city back with that amount.
Well, she could roll that over.
Or
to
she can
the
roll it over.
classes.
Well, except if the city's gonna pay for it, then the city needs to pay. So we keep those tracks definite.
Well, the thing is, though, like she was going to do, is because if she got a scholarship back for the 2, then she was going to take that and advance it forward for 2 more
Right.
and just keep the ball rolling.
So I understand that.
Has to go into the books and then out.
Yes, yes.
The money comes in from the scholarship, and then the city writes a check out of, in and out. Just for tracking.
So, in
That's
other
not why we
words,
have Ross.
no, I know, but, I mean, it's different, the city runs different than business.
Yeah,
And, you know, there's definite lines, right, or definite lines, and what are you gonna do with the money? So, my suggestion is that we go ahead and reimburse her for the whole amount. If she gets her scholarships, then she can reimburse the city for her set amounts, what those are. And then going into the future, and this is where having the list of what classes are coming up, what she wants to take and when, how much they are, the city goes ahead and pays for those for training. And that will just keep knocking the classes out as they come up and their time allows. So that's the cleanest way to do it. Feisty. Other thoughts?
Good with that one.
Yeah.
Benefits the
So-
city.
Renee, if you could get us copies of what you paid out for the classes for our records, and then that'll come up in the bills to pay. We'll go ahead and get that authorized. Then going forward, just let us know. And we'll pre-authorize everything. Whatever your schedule allows. Thank you for doing that, by the way. That's self-motivated, so. Being that it's dealing with money, to have a motion to, for the city to pick up the class fees for our city clerk for her training.
I make a motion that we pick up city clerk Renee's class fees for further training.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously.
And then the Rotary, we need to see if we wanna do that for too.
The Rotary,
Mhm.
I've been going to some of those,
Um,
just at the VC, so, yeah.
That class is what, 300 to become a notary, 300?
About
Oh.
200.
Notary. I thought you
Notary.
said Rotary.
Rotary, yeah, no,
What?
notary.
Notary.
Tara to become a,
It would be a benefit to the city. I know that Rob made Megan get her and be a notary public for him. But I don't know if that's something, I know that the terminology in the vacate said notary, but I don't know if you guys are really gonna do it. I mean, it is something that I think we can charge for, so the city would get their money back, but that's totally up to you guys.
it's 10 or 30. I know I think it was for 10, but I think the average is 30.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know the one that lives in town here is 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, Scott does it for 10, yeah.
You know, people come to City Hall usually first, figuring they have.
I've had a few people ask, it hasn't been a lot by any means, but it was just something that the city could, one more thing the city could offer. If you wanted me to do it, I would totally do it. If you don't, then that's fine.
We do have an occasional thing we do here. I know Julie let hers go. She would go to the bank, she'd get whatever done at Banner Bank. So the convenience of it, even just for ourselves, would be good to have something in their office. So we'll include that as part of your training. Let me give you an update. That's why I called the special session I wasn't able to come to. On the engineering on our sewer plant upgrade. If council remembers, we had not received adequate communications from the engineer that we had hired before, Sissel Engineering, the John Day office. The Monday after we sent out the letter, we got a call from the manager there, Joe Hicks, and he had expressed that he had tried to contact us, but wasn't able to. So on those grounds, I asked him to meet and present where he was on the project as far as drawing us up engineering plans. He met with Charlie Briscoe and I and Tim and Jeff, our maintenance workers for the city. And it looked like he had it 95% done. We had a few questions. He had a couple of questions before he could go farther. And in my opinion, it was worth reconsidering on the grounds that he had tried to contact us, and that was why we voted to terminate his contract and move on. And it was expeditious for us to reconsider retracting our termination and keeping him on the project. He's got everything in there that would be required to actually start and build the new plant facilities and actually put the lines in. We had some questions on pumps, electrical and computer systems that he's looking into. And I was going to have him present to us today, actually, a presentation of the whole project, where he's at. So we could see if there's anything else that we were concerned about, wanting to research. And if not, then have him go forward with the finalization of the plans. He still is looking into some of the pump and electrical requirements, so I tentatively told him to our next council meeting on the 5th, I believe. Make a presentation then to full council. So that's the update. You guys voted in the special session to go ahead and have it continue. So that's all I have. Let's move on to the ordinances. First one's water
I
ordinance.
got one thing, should we go back and make a motion to pay for Renee to become a notary?
We voted to take care of all our training.
Classes, classes.
Yeah, so that's part of that,
Okay.
so.
In 5 minutes.
Let's take care of that, that's the easy one. Did Kirk did he come by and talk to him? Did he come by and take care of that email, reword it?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, right, but he took care of that? Okay. And remind us of the fire hydrants email.
Yeah, it says,
That's- yeah.
it says it would be $75 annual premium
It's in your packet, I made you,
For
everybody a copy.
to add fire hydrants. So $25,
Yeah.
$25,000.
Yeah, I remember that email. This is Charlie.
I just handed you.
Anyway, yeah, I'm familiar with it. So for a minimum of $75, it only adds 5 hydrants. How many do we have in this town? Quite a few. So,
We haven't had a lot of them ran over though.
But the thing is, I was gonna say, you only get 5 of them ran over in a year.
no, true.
I mean, you know, that's,
And
we have some very, very vulnerable ones. This is one, but the ones that are out there that are in city limits that are along the highway. Because somebody almost hit that one coming out of Sawmill. Because they slid clear across the road and landed
oh, really?
right next to it.
I mean,
But it hasn't been hit yet.
yeah, and all the time I've been here, I can remember 2, including this most recent one.
I mean, this.
So,
That's something we want to run into.
What's the deductible on that?
yeah, this is annual. So,
500.
But at least it would, cover us if we hit one, and then if we need to, we can always upgrade. If somebody
Right.
starts mowing over a bunch of them.
Bunch of, to repair this last one, and it is a obsolete fire hydrant. We were fortunate to find parts for it, but to repair it was about $2,500. So the new one's about 45. So $75 seems minimal to cover our risk. Do we entertain a motion
Well,
to
that's for the insurance, right?
$75 for the insurance?
But the thing is, though, does that pay just for the hydrant, or does it pay for our guys to put it in too?
Yeah, if you can hide it.
If we had a professional fire hydrant outfit come up and replace it or rebuild it, then that would cover that. If we have our guys do it, it would not. Parts, not labor.
Right.
So,
Okay. That was the only question I had.
yeah, it's a good question.
I make a motion, we add, $75 for our annual premium to add auto fire hydrants to our policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
Aye, all opposed? Passed unanimously. So we get hold of Kyle Evans, our agent, and ask him to add that. Okay, we want to add anything on our vacate update.
That was just, it's just there.
Dr. Arnold,
We haven't tackled any more on that.
It just was on it from the last.
All right, let's, go ahead and tackle our water ordinance.
You gotta read them, because that's what you're doing now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say here, according to our charter, well, first of all, we had numbers of workshops and, came up with what council, as best we could, with our lack of training, what we felt the ordinance says needed to include and exclude. We submitted that to our lawyer at the League of Oregon Cities, who reviewed it, made some corrections, additions, and deletions. That's what we were presented with today. Council was all read those that were in our cubicles for us to peruse. So according to our charter, there's a number of ways we can go about implementing and approving an ordinance, and this council has chosen to read the ordinances in full, first time. The second time by title only, and if we have to be unanimous, we can go ahead and vote. If we're unanimous, then the ordinance takes effect 30 days from the time that we approve the ordinance. So why don't we go ahead? Which one do you have queued first? Whichever.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, you don't want to
okay.
listen to all this?
Oh,
Not unless we're neighbors. No.
right.
George's.
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Fred is reading.
Oh,
Yes.
Fred's reading them,
I thought
okay.
we were calling him George.
So,
Water?
which one do you want first?
Water?
What happened to George?
George is too raspy.
And he's a little slow. Fred's
We don't have no George in town.
Well, we got a Fred now, he's perfect.
Well, we have Fred.
City of Sumter, an ordinance prescribing rules and regulations for the conduct of operation of the water system for the city of Sumter, regulating and governing the use of water from said system, providing penalties for violation of this ordinance, repealing ordinance 2001-3 and all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith. Ordinance No. 2020-3. The city of Sumter ordains as follows. Section I, Rules and Regulations, Definition of Terms. Article I, Rules and Regulations. This ordinance shall be known as the Rules and Regulations for the operation of the Water Department for the city of Sumter, Oregon, and may be so cited and pleaded. Water Department and all customers receiving services therefrom, inside or outside the city limits, are bound by these rules and regulations. Article 2, Definition of General Terms. Used in this ordinance, the following words in slash or phrases shall mean. Applicant. Whenever the word applicant is used, it shall mean the person or persons, firm, or corporation making application for water service from the city of Sumter. City. Whenever the word city is used, it shall mean the legally constituted municipal government of the city of Sumter, Oregon. City Council. Words, city council, shall mean the legally elected group of members composing the city council, including the mayor of the city of Sumter, Oregon. Customer or user. Words, customer or user, shall mean an applicant who has been accepted under the terms of these regulations and who receives water services from the city of Sumter, Oregon. Person. Word person shall mean and include a natural person, individuals, corporations, associations, firms, partnerships, and joint stock companies. Person in charge of property. Agent, occupant, lessee, renter, contract purchaser, or other person having possession or control of property. Person responsible. Person responsible for a water service or for the payment of rates relative to a specific water service location includes the owner or an agent thereof and the person in charge of property as defined in this ordinance. Public Works Employee. Public Works Employee shall mean the person appointed by the city council to manage the affairs of the water department in the city water system. Water Department. Words, water department, shall mean the entire water department of the city of Sumter, Oregon. Water system. Words, water system, shall mean the entire water system owned and operated by the city of Sumter, Oregon. Article 3, Service Area, hookup required. Area served by the water department shall be all the area included within the incorporated limits of the city of Sumter and such other contiguous and neighboring territory as the city council shall deem necessary to serve. Dwellings and other structures requiring a water supply located within the incorporated limits of the city are required to connect to the city water system prior to occupancy or use. Section 2, Service. Article I, Description of Service. Water Department will exercise reasonable diligence and care to deliver a continuous and sufficient supply of water to the customer at a reasonable pressure. Whenever practicable, users will be notified in advance of any planned interruption of service or shutdown of mains for repair or alterations. City assumes no responsibility for providing uninterrupted water service and will not liable for damages resulting from such interruptions. Ownership of system. The water mains, valves, fittings, hydrants, and other appurtenances, except for customer service lines, as defined in Section 8, Article I, shall be the property of the water department. Classes of service. Classes of service shall be residential, commercial, standby fire, and contract as follows, both inside and outside of the city limits. Residential services shall consist of all services for domestic purposes, single-family dwellings, homes, multi-family dwellings, and municipal purposes. Commercial services shall consist of those services where water is used for commercial purposes, such as but not limited to businesses, commercial recreation facilities, Airbnbs, and traveler accommodations. Standby fire service shall consist of those services where water is available for or used for fire protection only. Contract services shall consist of those services for industrial or independent water district purposes under contracts authorized by the city council. When the applicant's requirements for water are unusual or large, such as an independent water district, school, hospital, motel, or recreation vehicle park, or necessitate considerable special or reserve equipment or capacity, the water department, by authorization of the city council, reserves the right to require and make a special contract for water service. provisions of which are different from and have exceptions to the regularly established water rates, rules, and regulations. Such special contracts shall be in writing, researched by the city attorney, approved by the city council, and signed by the mayor and city recorder of the city of Sumter. The applicant shall be liable for any attorney fees required for such contracts. Resale of water. Sale of water shall only be permitted under special contract, in writing, between the city council and the persons, parties, or corporations selling the water. Article 2, service during emergency shortage. In case of shortages of water supply, the city council may issue emergency and temporary rules to conserve water and ensure an adequate supply of water remains available for basic life functions. Section 3, applications. Article 9, application for service. The applicant for water service shall sign an application form provided by the city. Application requirements. The application form shall provide the following information. Date of application. Physical address and location of premises to be served. Date services to premises are to begin. The class of service desired. Statement as to whether the applicant is the owner, lessee, or renter. Applicant is the lessee or renter, owner's name, and contact information is required. The mailing address of the applicant. Driver's license number of the applicant. Phone number of the applicant. Any other information the city may so require. Abide by rules. Submitting an application for water service, the applicant will swear under penalties of perjury to agree to abide by the rules and regulations of the city of Sumter. No contractual obligation. The application is merely a written request for service and does not bind the city to provide such service. Deposit and establishment of credit. The time application for service is made, the applicant shall establish his / credit with the city. The applicant makes a cash deposit with the city to secure payment of bills for service. The deposit shall be a sum established by the city council and set by resolution. Should the applicant have a previous history of delinquency in payment of his or her water bills, as determined by the city, and be requesting a new account, the minimum deposit shall be determined on the basis of previous delinquent amounts, or $150, whichever is greater. At the time of application, a deposit shall be made to the city and a receipt will be given for same. Deposit is not to be considered as a payment on account. In the event service is discontinued, the deposit will be applied to the closing bill and any amount more than the closing bill will be refunded. Following 12 consecutive non-delinquent payments for water service, the deposit will be applied to the applicant's billing as credit. City will not pay any interest on any deposit. If an account becomes delinquent and it is deemed necessary to disconnect the service, the deposit shall be applied to the unpaid balance due. Water service shall not be restored to the premise or the same customer at a different premise until all outstanding bills due the city have been paid. An application for a new service. Restoration of service shall be invalid after a period of 180 days from the date of approval by the city council, or within 30 days of the completion of the meter installation, whichever period is shorter unless non-premises service connection is completed, and the service is activated by the applicant. Such application is rendered invalid on this basis. The connection fee shall be non-refundable, and a new application and fee will be required if service is still desired by the applicant. Fund of a connection fee shall only be refundable if requested within 30 days of application and prior to the installation of the main line extension and /1 meter. After application and approval by the city council for the installation of a new water service connection, payment shall be paid in full to the city according to the most recent water rate resolution before construction can begin on the new service line by the water department. Article 2, application amendments. Customers desiring a material change in the size, length, character, or extent of equipment or operation which would result in a material change in the amount of water used, shall give the city written notice of such changes at least 30 days prior to the change, and the application for service shall be amended. Customers desiring a change in the size, location, or number of services shall also file an amended application with the city as provided for hearing. Section 4, main extensions. Article 9, within the city limits. Other main extensions to areas within the city limits not presently served with water shall be installed under procedures to be established by the city council. Subdividers for newly partitioned properties and developers of newly developing properties shall assume all costs of main extensions, including engineering costs, with the approval of the city council. mains outside the city limits shall only be extended after approval of the city council and at the expense of the customer, S, to be served. This shall include all engineering costs associated therewith. Main extensions shall become the property of the city at the time installed. However, the maintenance responsibilities and costs thereof shall be borne by the customer, S, until such time as the property, S, being served are annexed to the city. City council shall determine the size of the main extensions, and all extensions shall be of a suitable material approved by the city council. Extensions outside the city limits shall be installed by a contractor approved by the city council. Installation procedures and materials shall be in accordance with city and state of Oregon standards and approved thereof. Article 3, location of extensions. City of Sumter will make or shall only permit water main extensions on public right-of-ways, public easements, or publicly owned properties. Permits or permits secured for main extensions shall be obtained in the name of the city of Sumter along with all rights entitled to the main at the time service is provided to the customer, S, paid for the extension. Section 5, water services. Article 9, connections to the public water service system. Connections made to the city's water services system shall be in accordance with this ordinance and any design standards adopted by relevant city departments. Consent. Connections to active distribution mains for the purpose of extending such lines or providing water service shall be made only by the city or private parties with the written consent of the city. Unlawful acts. Shall be unlawful for any person to attach or detach from any water main or connection through which water is supplied by the city from its water service system, or to interfere in any manner or tampers with such pipes or connections, without having first obtained written permission from the city. Payment of fees. No connections shall be made to the city's water service system until all applicable connection fees, system development charges, meter installation fees, or other applicable fees are paid in full. Article 2, service connections. City owns the water meter and its connection to the water main. Meter required. Every connection to the water main shall be metered. Multiple buildings on the same parcel may be served through a master meter if under common ownership. Installation of water meters shall be performed only by authorized employees or representatives, including approved contractors of the city of Sumter. All meters shall be sealed by the city at the time of installation, and no seal shall be altered or broken except by one of the authorized employees or representatives. Meters shall normally be placed at the curb, right-of-way, or property lines. The meter will be installed wherever the applicant desires within reason, but the location must be approved by the city. Meters will not be located in driveways or other locations where damage to the meter or its related parts, including the housing, may occur or is likely to occur. The service connection to a parcel of land shall not be used to supply an adjoining parcel of a different owner, or to supply a separate parcel of the same owner for which proper application for service has not been made. Property provided with the service is subdivided. The service connection shall be considered as supplying the parcel of land which it directly enters. The use of hoses and other non-permanent delivery systems to convey water for the purpose of providing water service to adjacent parcels is strictly prohibited. Water used by multi-residents, occupying the same residence structure but served by separate water lines shall each constitute a separate water service and will be so charged. Water used by one or more businesses occupying the same business structure but served by separate water service lines shall each constitute separate services. Separate individuals, families, companies, firms, corporations, or other business entities occupying separate residence or business structures served by one service line shall each constitute a separate water service, except for medical hardship after 30 days. Two separate occupant households existing on the same property shall be serviced by separate service lines and shall each constitute a separate water service. Except as otherwise provided in this ordinance, each water service customer shall pay the basic and meter rates set forth by the city council. Thus, the city shall ensure that the service lateral and water meter serving the premise is of adequate size to supply the estimated use by the premise. Size of the meter serving a premise may be changed at the request of the user if the city concurs that the requested size is appropriate. The user shall pay the estimated cost of making the change. Meter size will not be changed for any premise more frequently than once per year. Failure to comply. Failure to comply with the provisions of this section may result in the immediate discontinuance of water service. Section 6, plumbing. Article 9, customers' plumbing. Users' plumbing which shall include the use of a service line and all plumbing, piping, fixtures, and other appurtenance carrying or intended to carry water from the meter to the dwelling or other structure, shall comply with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon. Kept in repair shall be the responsibility of the user to keep piping and fixtures in good repair to prevent damage to premises and waste of water. No liability. City shall not be responsible or liable for damage to property resulting from turning on or continuing water system service to premises having defective plumbing. Section 7, Standby Fire Protection Service Connections. Article 9, Standby Fire Protection. Standby Fire Protection Service connections of 2-inch size and larger will be installed only if adequate provisions are made to prevent the use of water from such services for purposes other than fire extinguishing. Field fire sprinkler systems with water-operated alarms shall be considered as having such provisions. City may require that a suitable detector check may be installed in the Standby Fire Protection Service connections, to which hose lines or hydrants are connected. Piping on the customer's premises shall be installed in accordance with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon and is required by the state fire marshal. Charges for service. Purchase for standby fire protection services is set forth by the city council. Customers shall pay the full cost of the standby fire protection service connection, any required detector check meters, and any required special water meter installed for the service to the standby connection. Violations of regulations. Water is used from a standby pipe connection service in violation of these regulations. An estimate of the amount used will be computed by the city staff subject to city council approval. Customers shall pay for the water used at the regular rates, including the minimum charge based on the size of the service connection or class of service and subsequent bills rendered based on regular applicable water rates. Article 2, Fire service connections other than standby. Service having fire protection facilities on the premises and water for other purposes flowing through the same service connection shall be considered as an ordinary service and metered as such. The water used through that service, regardless of its use, will be charged at the regular applicable rate. Article 3, Temporary service connections. For water service of a temporary nature, applicants shall be required to pay in advance the estimated costs of installation and removal of metering equipment and materials, plus a reasonable depreciation charge for the use of equipment and material used by the city. Time limit. Temporary service connections shall be disconnected and terminated within 6 months after installation unless an extension of time is approved by the city. Charges for service. Charges for water furnished through a temporary service connection shall be at the rate established by this ordinance for the proper use class. Installation charges and deposits. The application for temporary service will be required. To pay the city, in advance, the estimated cost of installing and removing all facilities necessary to furnish such service. To deposit with the city an amount equal to the value of any equipment loaned by the city to such applicant. Responsibility for meters and installations. The customer shall use all possible care to prevent damage to the meter or to any equipment loaned by the city. The meter or other facilities are damaged. The cost of making repairs shall be the responsibility of the customer. The loaned materials are returned in satisfactory condition and all bills are paid. The full amount of the equipment deposit will be returned to the temporary customer at the termination of the service. Section 8 Notices. Article 9. Types of notice. This is from the city to customers who will be given in writing and delivered to the last known address. Conditions warrant and, particularly in emergencies, the city may notify either by telephone or by city employee. In case of renters or lessees, notice will also be given to the property owner as indicated on the application for service. Notices from customers to the city may be given by the customer or an authorized agent thereof, orally, or in writing, at City Hall. Article 2, Discontinuance of service. The customer about to vacate any premises supplied with water service by the city, including renters and lessees, shall give the city notice of intentions at least 5 days prior specifying the date service or occupancy of the premises is to be discontinued. Section 9, Billing and Payment. Article 9, Meters. Applicable meters will be read and customers billed based on the meter readings. The city will keep an accurate account on its books of all readings of meters, and such accounts kept shall be offered at all times of the use of water service by the customer. Article 2, Rendering of bills. Except as provided for otherwise in this ordinance, when applicable, all meters shall be read, and bills rendered monthly. opening or closing bills, or bills that for any reason covering a period 10% more days or 10% less days than in the normal billing period of 30 days shall be prorated. Meters supplying the customer's premises shall be billed separately. Article 3, disputed accounts. When a customer disputes the correctness of a bill, a deposit in the amount of the disputed bill at the time the complaint is lodged to preclude discontinuance of service pending final settlement of the bill or bills. Subsequent bills shall be paid or placed on deposit in a similar manner. Failure of the customer to make such deposit, S, shall warrant discontinuance of services provided under this ordinance. Article 4, reading of meters. Applicable, if it shall be impossible or impractical to read a meter on the regular reading date or on a regular monthly basis, the city council shall specify, by resolution, which month meters are to be read, and water consumption shall be prorated based on 30 days per month, and the total water consumption for the billing purposes for those months shall be estimated. Article B, owner of record and payment of bills. Property owner of record is shown by the records of the Baker County Assessor, as well as the renter or lessee of the same, shall be responsible for the payment of all water charges and fees prescribed in this ordinance. Water billings shall be mailed to the given mailing address where water service is furnished unless the property owner, renter, or lessee states otherwise. Bill rendered shall contain the final date on which payment is due. The bill is not paid by that date, the account shall be considered delinquent. Section 10, delinquent accounts. Article I, notice. Delinquent notice. Account shall be declared delinquent after the specified noted due date on the monthly billings. Reminder of account delinquency may be sent to each delinquent account. The property is rented or leased. A copy of the delinquent account shall be sent to legal property owner as so listed in city records. Shut off of services notice. Or about 10 days after an account becomes delinquent, a shut-off notice will be delivered to the delinquent residents giving notice that the utility services will be disconnected for non-payment on a given date unless the delinquent account is paid in full or payments pursuant to an agreement for payment approved by the city. Service turned off. The turn-off date, the city maintenance personnel shall deliver a written notice to the premises stating the water service is being disconnected until all delinquent amounts have been paid. Delivery of the notice to the premises of the delinquent account meter shall be considered a delivery of the notice to the customer. Owner of the property shall be notified also. Article 2, restoration of service, service charge, and deposit. All instances where water service has been turned off due to non-payment on delinquent accounts, full payment of the delinquent amount must be paid prior to restoration of service. Rates for restoration of service will be established by resolution. Charge must be paid in full along with the delinquent amount before restoration of service. City may also require a new deposit in the amount provided for in Section 3, Article I of this ordinance. Section 11, collection of bills, delinquent, and penalty fees. Article I, collection of bills. City may enforce the collection of rates and charges for the use of water and water facilities by any means that may be provided by the laws of the state of Oregon or permitted by charter and ordinances of the city. Water service charges shall be liened against the premises served from and after the date of delinquency and entry in the city lien docket. Lien docket shall be accessible for inspection by anyone interested in ascertaining the amount of charges against the property. A bill for water service remains unpaid 60 days after it is delinquent. The lien created thereby may be foreclosed in the manner provided for by Rs. 223.610 or in any other manner provided by state law or city ordinance. Article 2. Delinquent fees. When an account become more than 30 days delinquent, there shall be added a delinquent fee. This fee will be established by resolution. Article 3. Installment payments of delinquent accounts. Cases of extreme hardship, the city council shall have the discretion of renewing service to a delinquent account upon receipt of a satisfactory installment plan for the payment of the overdue amount. Such installment period shall not exceed the period the account was delinquent, and future charges shall be kept current during the installment period. Failure of a customer to meet the conditions of the installment plan shall constitute grounds for immediate disconnection of services. Article 4. Refusal of service. City may refuse water service to any property upon which a lien has been attached until the amount owing on the lien has been paid to the city along with the service charges for restoration of services. City may also refuse service to a customer with an outstanding delinquent balance until such balance and all required deposits are paid in full. Section 12, Meter error. Critical line, meter test. Meter test will be conducted in accordance with standards of practice established by the American Water Works Association. Customer request. Customer may, upon giving 10-day notice, request the city to test the meter servicing customer premises. Consumers may at their option witness any meter test which they request during normal working hours. The customer requests the city have a meter tested by an independent testing facility and the meter meets the accuracy standard of this section. The customer will be responsible for paying for the testing. However, the meter does not meet the accuracy standard of this section. The city will be responsible for paying for the testing. City request. Upon comparison of past water usage, it appears that a meter is not registering properly. The city may at their option test a meter and adjust the charges accordingly. Article 2, adjustment. Could a meter be found to be out of the allowable tolerance for error, or found to be non-registering? The bill will be completed upon an estimate of consumption based either upon the customer's prior use during the same season of the year or upon a reasonable comparison with the use of other customers receiving the same class of service during the same season and under similar circumstances and conditions. Comparison factors that may be taken into account include, but are not limited to, the number of plumbing facilities, number of household water using appliances, number of household members, potential non-household uses such as lawn area, garden, etc. Section 13, discontinuance of service. Article 9, on customer's request. Customer about to vacate any premises that is supplied with water service by the city shall give the city at least 5 days notice of intent, thereby specifying the date services to discontinue. Otherwise, said customer will be responsible for all water supplied to such premises until the city shall receive notice of such removal. The time specified by the customer that expects to vacate the premises where service is supplied or the customer desires to be discontinued, the meter will be read, and a bill rendered which is payable immediately. The date the premises are vacated is less than a full monthly billing, then the final billing shall be prorated for days of use of city water service. Article 2, non-payment of bills. Customers' water service may be discontinued if the water bills are not paid in accordance with this ordinance. Article 3, improper customer facilities. Unsafe facilities. City may refuse to furnish water and may discontinue service to any premises without prior notice where plumbing facilities, appliances, or equipment using water are dangerous, unsafe, or are not in conformity with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon. Cross connections. Cross connection is defined as any physical or potential connection between the city's water system and another source. Oregon State Health Commission, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the U.S. Public Health Service prohibit cross connections. City nor the Water Department will permit any cross connections and will discontinue service to any persons or premises where a cross connection exists. Service will not be restored until the cross connection is eliminated. Separate systems. Customers using water from one or more sources, in addition to receiving water from the city on the same premises, shall maintain separate systems for each, and the city's water supply facilities shall be separated from any and all other systems by an air gap of not less than 1 foot, or within the ground, by not less than 5 feet. Water waste. Water is wastefully or negligently used on a customer's premises, seriously affecting the general service. The city may discontinue service if such conditions are not corrected after given notice to the premises by the city. Article 4, service detrimental to others. Excessive demands. City may refuse to furnish water, may discontinue service, or may otherwise regulate service to any premises where excessive demands by a customer may result in inadequate service to others. Fraud or abuse. City will refuse or discontinue service to any premises where it is deemed necessary to protect the city from fraud or abuse. Discontinuance of service from one or both causes will be made immediately upon knowledge by the city that the condition or conditions exist. Unauthorized turn on. Water service has been discontinued for any reason and the water is turned on by the customer or other unauthorized person. The water may then be shut off at the main or the meter removed. Charges for shutting off the water at the main or removing the meter shall be computed at actual cost to the city plus 15%, but not less than $50. These charges shall be billed to the offending customer and water shall not be furnished to the premises or customer until such charges are paid and the city has reasonable assurance that the violation will not reoccur. Non-compliance with ordinance and regulations. City may, upon 24 hours notice, Discontinue service to a customer's premises for failure to comply with any of the provisions of this ordinance. Except for imminent health conditions as deemed by the public works employee or by the city council. That time disconnection will be immediate. Section 14, restoration of service. Article I, policy. Restoration of service after discontinuance or non-payment of bills shall only be made after payment of current and past due charges plus a service restoration charge, established by resolution, and posting a deposit is required by this ordinance. Restoration of service after discontinuance of service for unsafe facilities, water waste, fraud, abuse, or for non-compliance with any of the provisions of this ordinance or any other related policies of the city will only be made after the irregularity has been corrected and the city has been assured that the irregularity will not reoccur. Restoration charge, established by resolution, plus any other charges due or past due that the city may have incurred to correct the irregularity shall be paid before restoration of service. Article 2, unusual demands. An abnormally large quantity of water is desired for filling a swimming pool, a pond, or for other purposes. Arrangements must be made with the city prior to taking such action. Permission for such use of water in large quantities will only be granted if other consumers are not inconvenienced and if adequate water supplies are available. Article 3, access to property. Duly appointed employees, agents, or contractors of the city, under the direction of the city, shall have access at all reasonable hours of the day to any and all parts of structures and premises in which water is, or may be delivered for the purposes of inspecting connections, the conditions of conduits and fixtures, the manner and extent in which the water is being used, and more particularly in emergency situations. City does not, however, assume the duty of inspecting the customer's line, plumbing, and equipment and shall not be responsible therefore. Section 13, responsibility for equipment. Article I, responsibility for customer equipment. City shall not be held liable for any loss or damage of any nature whatsoever caused by any defect in the customer's line, plumbing, or equipment. Or shall the city be held liable for loss or damage due to interruption of service or temporary changes in pressure. Customers shall be responsible for valves on premises being turned off when the water service is turned off. Article 2, responsibility for city equipment. The equipment on the customer's premises remains the property of the city and may be repaired, replaced, or removed by the city employees at any time without the consent of the owner. A payment will be made to the property owner for the right to install, maintain, replace, or remove city equipment on his or her premises. Property owner must keep vicious dogs or other animals secured or confined to avoid interference with city operations and maintenance. Damage to city equipment. Customers shall be liable for any damage to equipment owned by the city which is caused by an act of the customer, his or her tenants, agents, employees, contractors, licensees, or permittees. Damage to equipment shall include, but not limited to, breaking of seals and locks and tampering with meters, injury to meters, including but not limited to damages by hot water or steam, and damaged meter boxes, curb stops, meter stops, and other appurtenances. Inclement weather. Customer will take all reasonable care to ensure that city equipment, i.e. meters, meter stops, service lines, etc., are not damaged due to inclement weather. Section 14, fire hydrants. Article I, operation. A person other than those designated and authorized by the city or the fire department shall open any fire hydrant belonging to the city, attempt to draw water from the hydrant, or in any manner damage or tamper with the hydrant. The violation of this provision will be prosecuted according to the law. A tool other than a special hydrant wrench shall be used to operate a hydrant bell. Cases where a temporary service has been granted and water received through a fire hydrant, an auxiliary valve will be provided to control the flow of water. Article 2, moving a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant has been installed in the locations specified by the city, and fire department have fulfilled their obligation. The property owner or other party desires to change the size or location of the hydrant, he or she shall bear all costs of such changes. Approval must be obtained by the Sumter City Council and Fire Department before any changes can take place. Section 15, penalties and suspension of rules. Article I, penalties. A person violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine not exceeding $1,000. Article 2, suspension of rules. No employee or agent of the city is authorized to suspend or alter any of the provisions of this ordinance as cited herein without specific approval or direction of the city council, except in cases of emergency involving loss of life or property or which would place the city's water system operation in jeopardy. Section 16, repeater, severance clause, and saving clause. Article 1, repeater. The ordinance #2001-3 and all amendments thereto are hereby repealed in their entireties, and the provisions of any other prior ordinance of the city of Sumter that may be in conflict with any of the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed and superseded. Article 2, severance. Sections and subsections of this ordinance are severable. Invalidity of any section or subsection shall not affect the validity of the remaining sections or subsections. Article 3, savings clause. Any part of this ordinance is found to be invalid or unconstitutional, that part shall be severed from and held separate. The remainder of the ordinance shall continue in effect as written without the invalid part. Section 17, enactment. This ordinance will be enacted 30 days after council approval. Read for the first time in full, this day of 2020. Read for the second time, by title only, by unanimous consent of the city council members present, this day of 2020.
Do we have any, before we move on, is there any corrections or
Page 9.
any other issues? Page 9,
Page 9, section 10, article 1, 8, or A, is rented or leased. Yeah.
right,
I just got to page 9, what?
Article, section 10. That the property is rented or granted. Delinquent notice. Section 10 under notice, delinquent notice. Take that or rented, I guess. Is rented or rented. It could be left or leased.
Is rented or leased?
That's all I have on the cost.
We're gonna leave this in the-
And then it's on page 2.
Huh?
Page what?
I'm not sure.
2.
It was just hard information.
Okay.
Under service, article 1, I think down there in that last sentence, it should be in will not, this is will not liable, it will not be liable.
And will not, be liable, yeah.
Other than that, I just thought those spaces need to be taken out, but other than that,
There is a page. Twelve, section 13, article 4, B. The city may, upon 24 hours notice, discontinue service to a customer's premises for failure to comply with any of the provisions of this ordinance, which that sentence alone is fine, it has a period.
I just got to page 12.
Huh?
I just got to page 12. Where you at?
Oh, article 4D, non-compliance.
Okay.
So, go through the first sentence. Last word is ordinance, period.
Mhm.
The next sentence is incomplete sentence. It qualifies that first sentence. That should either be a comma or you could actually leave it out. The city may, upon 24 hours notice, discontinue service to a customer's premises for failure to comply with any of the provisions of this ordinance except for imminent health conditions.
there should be comma. Except for imminent health condition. That makes more sense.
Yep.
And then, period after the conditions and get rid of the, as deemed by the public works.
then last page, that's section 16, article 3. The savings clause. Last sentence, the remainder of the ordinance shall continue in effect as though written without the in village part. Okay.
That's all.
So we're looking to third reading again. We made changes, it's gotta be read right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, me a pillow.
Yeah.
Getting down, we got 2 more to go.
Can't you do it with the changes that we made, or does it have to be
It
100?
has to be read as it's written. So,
Can we read just the parts that you changed?
my suggestion is, unless you want to be here till 8.
You can speed him up.
So he sounds like a chipmunk?
Yeah, speed them up. You could go to that next level.
City of Sumter. An ordinance prescribing rules, regulations for the conduct and operation of the water system for the city of Sumter, regulating and governing the use of water from said system. Citing penalties for violation of this ordinance. Ordinance 2001-3 and all other ordinances. Or. Ordinances in conflict therewith. Please note, 5-3. City of Sumter remains as follows. Section 9, rules and regulations, definition of terms. Rules and regulations. Rules and regulations for the operation of the water department of the city of Sumter and so cited and needed. Department and all customers receiving services thereof inside or outside city limits are bound by these rules and regulations. Definition of general terms. In this ordinance, the following words and slash phrases shall mean. Wait, the word applicant is used, it shall mean the person or persons, or corporation making application for water service from the city of Sumter. The word city is used, it shall mean the legally constituted municipal government of the city of Sumter or city council. The city council shall mean the legally elected group of members composing the city council, including the mayor of the city of Sumter or sewer user. This customer or user shall mean an applicant who has been accepted under the terms of these regulations and receives water services from the city of Sumter or the word person shall mean include natural person, individuals, corporations, associations, groups, partnerships, and joint stock companies. In charge of property, an agent, officer, lessee, renter, contract purchaser, or other person having possession or control of property. Is responsible for water service or cleaning and free private use of specific water service location includes the owner or agent thereof and the person in charge of property is defined in this ordinance. The word sampling, public word sampling shall mean the person appointed by city council and entity affairs of the water department and the city water system. Water department. This water department shall mean the entire water department of the city of Sumter or this water system shall mean the entire water system operated by the city of Sumter or service area without required. The certified water department shall be all area within the operating limits of the city of Sumter and such organizations as neighboring territory and the city council shall be necessary to serve. All these types of structures requiring water supply located within the operating limits of the city are required to connect to the city water system prior to occupancy or use. Service. Description of service. The department will exercise reasonable diligence in care to deliver a continuous and sufficient supply of water to the customer at a reasonable pressure. Where practical, users will be notified in advance of any planned interruption of service or shutdown of means or repair alterations. He assumes no responsibility for providing uninterrupted water service and will not be liable for damages resulting from such interruptions. Restrictional system. Water mains, valves, fittings, hydrants, and other appurtenances, except for customer service lines, as defined in section 8, article 1, shall be property of the water department. As of the service shall be residential, commercial, standby fire, and contract as follows, both inside and outside of the city limits. Residential services shall consist of all services for domestic purposes, single-family dwellings, homes, multi-family dwellings, and municipal purposes. Commercial services shall consist of those services where water is used for commercial purposes, such as but not limited to businesses, commercial recreation facilities, Airbnbs, and traveler accommodations. Standby fire service shall consist of those services where water is available for use for fire protection only. Contract services shall consist of those services for industrial or independent water district purposes under contracts authorized by the city council. When the applicant's requirements for water are unusual or large, such as the independent water district, school, hospital, hotel, or recreation vehicle park, or necessity considerable special water service in capacity, the water department and authorization of the city council reserves the right to require a special contract for water services. The provisions of which are different from any exceptions to the regularly established water rights, rules, and regulations. Special contracts shall be reserved by the city attorney, approved by the city council, and signed by the mayor and city recorder of the city of Sumter. Applicants shall be liable for any fees required by such contracts. Sale of water shall be permitted under special contract in private between the city council and persons, privates, or corporations selling the water. Service during emergency shortage. Waste shortage of water supply, the city council may issue emergency and temporary rules to conserve water in ensure an adequate supply of water remains available for basic life functions. Section 3, applications. It will allow application for service. Applicant for water service shall sign an application form provided by the city. Application requirements. The application form shall provide the following information. For application. Single address and location of premises to be served. Services to provide service. Class of service provider. Created as well as applicant is doing less than director. Applicant is less than director, owner's name, and contact information is required. Name, address, and applicant. Driver's license number of the applicant. Number of the applicant. Other information is required. By applicants. Made an application for water service. The applicant will swear on the penalties of perjury to review by the rules and regulations of the city of Sumter. Contractual obligation. Location. Request for service and does not bind the city to provide such service. Clause in establishment of creditor. When an application for service is made, the applicant shall establish a slash or credit with the city. The applicant will establish a deposit with the city to secure payment for service. The deposit shall be established by the city council and set by resolution. The applicant had previous history of delinquency in payment of his water bills as determined by the city, and he requested a new account. The minimum deposit shall be determined on the basis of previous delinquencies or $150, whichever is greater. The time of application, a deposit shall be made to the city and a receipt will be issued for same. Deposit is not to be considered as a payment on account. As service is discontinued, the deposit will be applied to the closing bill and any amount more than the closing bill will be refunded. If felt consecutive non-delinquent payments for water service, the deposit will be applied to the applicant's bill as credit. He will not pay any interest on any deposit. The account becomes delinquent and it is deemed necessary to disconnect the service. The deposit shall be applied to the unpaid balance due. The service shall not be restored to the premise of the same customer and the premise until all outstanding bills to the city have been paid. Application for a new service. Restoration of service shall be invalid after a period of 180 days from the date of approval by the city council or within 30 days of the completion of meter installation, whichever period is shorter unless an on-premises service connection is completed and the service is activated by the applicant. The application is rendered invalid on this basis. The connection fee shall be non-refundable and the new application fee will be required if the service is still desired by the applicant. The connection fee shall only be refundable if requested within 30 days of application prior to the installation of the main line extension / meter. Your application and approval by the city council for the installation of the new water service connection. Payment shall be paid in full to the city according to the most recent water rate resolution before construction to begin on the new service line by the water department. Article 2, application amendments. First, desiring a material change in the size, length, character, or extent of the operation which would result in a material change in the amount of water used shall be the city written notice of such changes at least 30 days prior to the change, and the application for service shall be amended. First, desiring a change in the size, location, or number of services shall also file an amended application with the city as provided for hearing. Section 4, main extensions. Within the city limits. Main extensions to areas within the city limits not presently served with water shall be installed under procedures to be established by the city council. Owners of newly petitioned properties and developers of newly developing properties shall assume all costs of main extensions, including engineering costs, with the agreement of the city council. Article 2, outside the city limits. Mains outside the city limits shall only be extended after approval of the city council and the expense of the customer, S, to be served. This shall include all engineering costs associated therewith. Extensions shall become the property of the city at the time of install. However, the maintenance responsibilities and costs thereof shall be borne by the customer, S, until such time as the property, S, being served by next to the city. The council shall determine the size of the main extensions, and all extensions shall use suitable material approved by the city council. Extensions outside the city limits shall be installed by a contractor approved by the city council. Installation procedures and materials shall be according to the city and state authority standards and approved thereof. Article 3, location of extensions. The city of Sumter will pay for shall only put water main extensions on public right-of-ways, public easements, or public owned properties. Sumter is secure main extensions shall be contained in the name of the city of Sumter along with all rights entitled to the main and time services provided to the customer, S, paying for the extension. Water services. Connections to the public water service system. Connections made to the city's water services system shall be in accordance with this ordinance and any design standards adopted by relevant city departments. Consent. Connections to active distribution mains for the purpose of extending such lines or providing water service shall be made only by the city or private parties with the written consent of the city. Lawful acts. Be unlawful for any person to attach or detach from any water main or connection through which water is supplied by the city from its water service system, or to interfere in any manner or tampers with such pipes or connections, without having first obtained written permission from the city. Payment of fees. Connections shall be made to the city's water service system until all applicable connection fees, system development charges, meter installation fees, or other applicable fees are paid in full. Article 2, service connections. He owns the water meter and its connection to the water main. Meter required. Every connection to the water main shall be metered. Full buildings on the same parcel may be served through a master meter if under common ownership. Installation of water meters shall be performed only by authorized employees or representatives, including approved contractors of the city of Sumter. Meters shall be sealed by the city at the time of installation, and no seal shall be altered or broken except by one of the authorized employees or representatives. Meters shall normally be placed at the curb, right of way, or property lines. The meter will be installed wherever the applicant desires within reason, but the location must be approved by the city. Meters will not be located in driveways or other locations where damage to the meter or its related parts, including the housing, may occur or is likely to occur. Service connection to a parcel of land shall not be used to supply an adjoining parcel of a different owner, or to supply a separate parcel of the same owner for which proper application for service has not been made. Property provided with the service is subdivided. The service connection shall be considered as supplying the parcel of land which it directly enters. Use of hoses and other non-permanent delivery systems to convey water for the purpose of providing water service to adjacent parcels is strictly prohibited. Water used by multi-residents, occupying the same residence structure but served by separate water lines shall each constitute a separate water service and will be so charged. Water used by one or more businesses occupying the same business structure but served by separate water service lines shall each constitute separate services. Separate individuals, families, companies, firms, corporations, or other business entities occupying separate residence or business structures served by one service line shall each constitute a separate water service. For medical hardship after 30 days. Separate occupant households existing on the same property shall be serviced by separate service lines and shall each constitute a separate water service. Except as otherwise provided in this ordinance, each water service customer shall pay the basic and meter rates set forth by the city council. Size. He shall ensure that the service lateral and water meter serving the premise is of adequate size to supply the estimated use by the premise. Size of the meter serving the premise may be changed at the request of the user if the city concurs that the requested size is appropriate. User shall pay the estimated cost of making the change. Size will not be changed for any premise more frequently than once per year. Failure to comply. Failure to comply with the provisions of this section may result in the immediate discontinuance of water service. Section 6, plumbing. Article I, customers plumbing. There's plumbing, which shall include the user's service line and all plumbing, piping, fixtures, and other improvements carrying or intended to carry water from the meter to the building or other structure shall comply with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon. Zero air, it shall be the responsibility of the user to keep piping and fixtures to the repair to prevent damage to premises and waste of water. Reliability, he shall not be responsible or liable for damage to property resulting from turning on or continuing water system service to premises having defective plumbing. Issue 7, standby fire protection service connections. It will allow standby fire protection. Standby fire protection service connections of 2 inch size and larger will be installed only if adequate provisions are made to prevent the use of water from such services for purposes other than fire extinguishing. Fire sprinkler systems with water operating alarms shall be considered as such provisions. We may require that suitable detector chain be installed in standby fire protection service connections to which those lines or hydrants are connected. Depending on the customer's premises shall be installed in accordance with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon and is required by state fire marshal. Purchase of service. This for standby fire protection services is set forth by state council. Customer shall pay the full cost of the standby fire protection service connection and require detector check meters and require special water meter installed for the service of the standby connection. Water received from the standby fire connection service in violation of these regulations. An estimate of the amount used will be computed by the city staff subject to city council approval. Customer shall pay for water used at regular rates, including a minimum charge based on the size of the service connection or class of service and subsequent bills rendered based on regular applicable water rates. Article 2, fire service connections other than standby. This having fire protection facilities on premises and water for the purposes of the same service connection shall be considered as regular service metered as such. Water used for that service, regardless of its use, will be charged for regular applicable rate. Article 3, temporary service connections. Water service of temporary nature, applicants shall be required to pay the estimated costs of installation and removal of metering equipment and materials, plus a reasonable depreciation charge for the use of equipment and material used by the city. Temporary service connections shall be disconnected and terminated within 6 months after installation unless an extension of time is approved by the city. Purchase of service. Charges for water furnished through a temporary service connection shall be at the rate established by the ordinance to the property's class. Installation charges and deposits. The application for temporary service will be required. Pay the city in advance the estimated cost of installing and removing all facilities necessary to furnish such service. Deposit with the city amount equal to the value of any equipment loaned by the city to such applicant. Responsibility for meters and installations. The customer shall install possible care and damage to the meter or any equipment loaned by the city. Meter or other facilities are damaged. The cost of making repairs shall be the responsibility of the customer. If the loan materials are returned in satisfactory condition, all bills are paid. The full amount of the equipment deposit will be returned to the temporary customer at termination of the service. Issuing notices. Types of notice. This for the city customers will be given in writing and delivered to the last address. Conditions or intent, particularly in emergencies. The city may notify either by telephone or by city employee. Case of records or lessons. Notice will also be given to the property owner as indicated on the application for service. This is for customers to the city may be given by the customer or an authorized agent thereof, orally or in writing at City Hall. Article 2, discontinuance of service. Any customer about to vacate any premises supplied with water service by the city, including renters and lessees, shall give the city notice of intentions at least 5 days prior specifying the date service or occupancy of the premises is to be discontinued. Issue 9, billing and payment. Article 9, meters. Applicable meters will be read and customers bill based on meter readings. He will keep an accurate account until all readings of meters and such accounts shall be offered at all times of use of water service by the customer. Article 2, generator bills. Except as provided for otherwise in this ordinance, when applicable, all meters shall be read and bills rendered monthly. No closing bills or bills that for any reason covered in period 10% more days or 10% less days than the normal billing period 30 days shall be prorated. Meters supplying customers' premises shall be billed separately. Article 3, disputed accounts. Customer disputes the correctness of the bill. A deposit will come out of the disputed bill at the time the complaint is lodged. To preclude discontinuance, the service pending final settlement of the bill or bills. The claim bills shall be paid or placed on deposit in a similar manner. Where the customer pays such a deposit, X shall order discontinuance of services provided under this ordinance. Article 4, meters. If it shall be impossible or impractical to read a meter on a regular reading date or on a regular monthly basis, the city council shall specify by resolution which monthly meters shall be read and water consumption shall be prorated based on 30 days per month and the total water consumption for the billing purposes of the month shall be estimated. Order of records and payment reports. Order of records shown on the records of the Baker County Assessment as well as the record of the city of the same shall be responsible for the payment of all water charges and fees under this ordinance. Water bills shall fail to be given and transfer water services to the property owner credit or less states otherwise. Order records shall maintain final date on which payment is due. Bill is not paid by that date. The account shall be considered delinquent. Issue 10, delinquent accounts. Notice. Delinquent notice. Accounts shall be declared delinquent after the specified noted due date on the monthly billings. Finder of account delinquency may be sent to each delinquent account. Property is rented or leased. A copy of the delinquent account shall be sent to legal property owner as so listed in city records. Shut off of services notice. About 10 days after an account becomes delinquent, a shut-off notice will be delivered to the delinquent residents giving notice that the utility services will be disconnected for non-payment on a given date unless the delinquent account is paid in full or payments pursuant to an agreement for payment approved by the city. Service turned off. Turn-off date. The city maintenance personnel shall deliver a written notice to the premises stating the water service is being disconnected until all delinquent amounts have been paid. Delivery of the notice to the premises of the delinquent account meter shall be considered a delivery of the notice to the customer. Owner of the property shall be notified also. Article 2, restoration of service, service charge, and deposit. Instances where water service has been turned off due to non-payment on delinquent accounts. Full payment for the delinquent amount must be paid prior to restoration of service. So restoration of service will be established by resolution. Charge must be paid in full along with the delinquent amount for restoration of service. He may also require a deposit in the amount provided for in section 3 of this ordinance. Issue 11, collection of bills, delinquent, and penalty fees. Collection of bills. He may enforce a collection of rates and charges for the use of water and water facilities by any means that may be provided by the laws of the state of Oregon or permitted by charter and ordinances of the city. Water service charges shall be levied against the premises served from and after date of delinquency and entry in the city lien docket. The docket shall be accessible for inspection by anyone interested in ascertaining the amount of charges against the property. Bill for water service remains unpaid 60 days after it is delinquent. The lien created thereby may be foreclosed in a manner provided for by 223.610 or in any other manner provided by state law or state ordinance. Article 2, delinquent fees. Account become more than 30 days delinquent, there shall be added delinquent fee. Fee will be established by resolution. Article 3, the installment payments of delinquent accounts. In cases of extreme hardship, the city council shall have the discretion of renewing service to a delinquent account upon receipt of a satisfactory installment plan for the payment of the overdue amount. The installment period shall not exceed the period the account is delinquent and future charges shall be kept current during the installment period. Wherever customer meeting conditions of the installment plan shall constitute grounds for immediate disconnection of services. Goal 4, refusal of service. You may refuse water service to any property on which a lien has been attached until the amount owing on the lien has been paid to the city along with the service charges or restoration of services. You may also refuse service from a customer with an outstanding delinquent balance until such balance and all required deposits are paid in full. Issue 12, meter error. Meter test. Test will be conducted in accordance with standards of practice established by the American Water Works Association. Zero request. Zero A. Upon giving attending notice request, the city to test the meter service in customer premises. First A, their option. Witness any meter test which they request during normal working hours. Customer requests the city have a meter tested by an independent testing facility and the meter meets the accuracy standard of this section. The customer will be responsible for paying for the testing. However, the meter does not meet the accuracy standard of this section. The city will be responsible for paying for the testing. Meter request. Upon comparison of past water usage, it appears that the meter is not registering properly. The city may, their option, test the meter and adjust the charges accordingly. Vehicle 2, adjustment. Meter found to have no tolerance for error or found to be not registering. The bill will be completed upon estimate of consumption based on all customers prior use during the same season of the year or upon reasonable comparison with the use of other customers receiving the same class of service during the same season and under similar circumstances and conditions. Present factors that may be taken into account include, but are not limited to, the number of plumbing facilities, the number of household water using appliances, the number of household members, potential non-household uses such as lawn area, garden, etc. Issue 13, discontinuance of service. Vehicle on customer's request. Customer after making any premises that is supplied with water service by the city shall give the city at least 5 days notice of intent thereby specifying the date service is discontinued. Otherwise, said customer will be responsible for all water supplied to such premises until the city shall receive notice of such removal. Time specified by the customer that expects to pay for premises or services supplied by the customer desires to be discontinued. The meter will be read and will render which day will immediately. Pay for premises are paid is less than full monthly billing. Then the final bill shall be prorated for days of use of city water service. Vehicle 2, non-payment of bills. Service water service may be discontinued if the water bills are not paid in accordance with this ordinance. Vehicle 3, improper customer facilities. Same facilities. You may refuse to furnish water and may discontinue service from any premises without prior notice where plumbing facilities, appliances, or equipment using water are dangerous, unsafe, or are not in conformity with the plumbing code of the state of Oregon. Disconnections. Disconnection is defined as any physical or potential connection between the city's water system and another source. For the State Health Division, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the U.S. Public Health Service prohibit cross connections. The New York Water Department will prevent any cross connections and will discontinue service from any persons or premises where a cross connection exists. This will not be restored until the cross connection is eliminated. For assistance. Persons using water from one or more sources, in addition to receiving water from the city on the same premises, shall maintain separate systems for each, and the city's water supply facilities shall be separated from any all other systems by an area cap not less than 1 foot, or not less than 5 feet. Water is wasteful when able to be used on customers' premises, seriously affecting the general service. The city may discontinue service if such conditions are not corrected after giving notice to the premises by the city. Vehicle 4, service detrimental to others. Excessive demands. We may refuse to furnish water, may discontinue service, or may otherwise regulate service to any premises where excessive demands by a customer may result in inadequate service to others. Other abuse. We will refuse or discontinue service to any premises where it is deemed necessary to protect the city from fraud or abuse. Discontinuance of service from one or both causes will be made immediately upon knowledge by the city that the condition or condition exists. Water service has been discontinued for any reason and water is turned on by the customer or other unauthorized person. The water may then be shut off and the name of the meter removed. Purchase or shutting off the water and the name of removing the meter shall be computed at actual cost to the city plus 15%, but not less than $50. Charges shall be billed to the offending customer and water shall not be furnished to the premises or customer until such charges are paid to the city as reasonable assurance that the violation will not be occurred. Compliance with ordinance and regulations. We may, upon 24 hours notice, discontinue service from customers' premises for failure to comply with any of the provisions of this ordinance, except for imminent health conditions, as deemed by the public works and will be by the city council. At that time, disconnection will be immediate. Issue 14, restoration of service. Policy. Restoration of service after discontinuance for non-payment of bills shall only be paid after payment of current and past due charges plus a service restoration charge, established by resolution, and posting the deposit is required by the service. Restoration of service after discontinuance of service for unsafe facilities, water waste, fraud, abuse, or for non-compliance with any of the provisions of this ordinance or any unrelated policies of the city will only be paid after irregularity has been corrected and the city has been assured that the irregularity will not be occurred. Restoration charge, established by resolution, plus any other charges due or past due to the city may have incurred to correct the irregularity shall be paid before restoration of service. Rule 2, unusual demands. Abnormally large quantity of water is desired for filling a swimming pool, or for other purposes. Arrangements must be made with the city prior to taking such action. Should for such use of water in large quantities will only be granted if other consumers are not inconvenienced and adequate water supplies are available. Rule 3, access to property. We appoint employees, police, or contractors to the city under the direction of the city shall have access to all reasonable hours of the day and in all parts of the premises in which water is, or may be delivered for the purposes of inspecting connections, the conditions of condensate fixtures, the manner and extent in which the water is being used, and more particularly in emergency situations. He does not, however, assume the duty of inspecting the customer's line, plumbing, and equipment and shall not be responsible therefore. Issue 13, responsibility for equipment. Responsibility for customer equipment. You shall not be held liable for any loss or damage of any nature whatsoever caused by any defect in the customer's line, plumbing, or equipment. Shall the city be held liable for loss or damage due to interruption of service or temporary changes in pressure? City shall be responsible for valves on premises being turned off when water service is turned on. Vehicle 2, responsibility for city equipment. Equipment on the customer's premises remains the property of the city and may be repaired, replaced, or removed by the city employees at any time without the consent of the owner. Payment will be made to the property owner for the right to install, maintain, replace, or remove city equipment on his or her premises. The property owner must keep vicious crops or other animals secured or confined to avoid interference with city operations and maintenance. Vicious city equipment. Shall be liable for any damage to equipment owned by the city which is caused by an act of the customer, his or her tenants, agents, employees, contractors, licensees, or entities. The equipment shall include, but not limited to, breaking of seals and locks and tampering with meters, injury meters, including but not limited to damages by hot water or heat, and damage to meter boxes, curb stops, meter stops, and other appurtenances. Plumbing weather. So we will take all reasonable care to ensure that city equipment, i.e. meters, meter stops, service lines, etc., are not damaged due to inclement weather. Issue 14, fire hydrants. Operation. Personnel that is designated and authorized by the city or the fire department shall and fire hydrant belonging to the city, establish their water from the hydrant during any manner damage or tamper with the hydrant. Violation of this provision will be prosecuted according to installed in locations specified by the city. And fire department will build their own location. Property owner or other party desiring to change the size or location of the hydrant, he or she shall bear all costs of such changes. Hydrant must be maintained by the Sumter City Council and fire department before any changes can take place. Section 14, penalties and suspension of rules. It will allow penalties. Any person violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine not exceeding $1,000. Article 2, suspension of rules. Employee or agent of the city is authorized to suspend or alter any of the provisions of this ordinance decided during the specific approval or direction of the city council, except in cases of emergency involving loss of life or property or which will place the city's waters into operation in general. Section 16, per meter, severance loss, and safety loss. Article 1, per meter. Ordinance #2001-3, all amendments thereto are hereby repealed and are entirely the provisions of any other prior ordinance of the city of Sumter may be in conflict with any of the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed and superseded. Article 2, severance. These subsections of this ordinance are severable. Validity of any section or subsection shall not affect the validity of the remaining sections or subsections. Article 3, savings clause. If any part of this ordinance is found to be invalid or unconstitutional, that part shall be severed from the health sector. Neither of the ordinance shall continue in effect until written without the invalid part. Section 17, enactment. Ordinance will be enacted 30 days after council approval. For the first time in full, this 22nd day of
That's much better.
I do too.
I can keep up.
It's actually easier to understand.
If, that reading meets, all of our satisfaction, is accurate, we can move on to step 2, the second reading, by title. Yeah, is there any corrections that?
No, I,
Second time?
second time. I mean, LLC's look at this, and so we follow their recommendations, so I mean,
What we found was hyphenation and some, spelling,
Yeah.
so. With in one addition of a double phrase, so. Okay, if there's nothing to correct, I'll entertain a motion to move to the second reading.
I make a motion that we do a second reading by title only.
I'll second it. On ordinance 2020.
On ordinance number 2020-3.
I'll second. Ernie seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, passed unanimously. Renee, do you want to read this by title only, or me to do it?
Yeah.
It's gonna take me a while to get to back to the top of the page.
Yeah,
So,
I'll do
because I'm,
it. Okay.
Okay.
Reading of ordinance number 2020-3 by title only. City of Sumter, ordinance number 2020-3. Section 1, rules and regulations, definition of terms. Section 2, service. Section 3, applications. Section 4, main extensions. Section 5, water services. Section 6, plumbing. Section 7, standby fire protection service connections. Section 8, notices. Section 9, billing and payment. Section 10, delinquent accounts. Section 11, collection of bills, delinquent and penalty fees. Section 12, meter error. Section 13, discontinuance of service. Okay, there's one more correction. We've got two section 13s. First, section 13 is discontinuance of service.
I don't have to.
We don't have to.
The second one,
Oh,
responsibility for equipment.
then it's section 14, restoration of service.
Two section 14.
Is that-
Oh, this is 14, so-
I got one section 14. Okay, we'll stop the second reading. I've got,
Restoration, section 14, restoration of service.
oh, wait, yeah,
14, two 13s.
section 13, discontinuance of service. Then I have section 14, restoration of service. That jumps back to section 13.
So we're 15,
So that is
yeah,
Right,
section 16, fire hydrants,
correct,
17, penalties and suspensions of rules, and 18, repeater, severance clause, and savings clause, and 19, enactment. So, when I formatted this, it must not have continued forward.
yeah, no. 3, 5, 7. Where is it?
that's the rest of it.
Yeah, I just.
Well, we can do it here.
Can you go faster?
The only thing that's different though is the subject.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily the reading of it.
The titles.
The title is what was off, just by numbers only.
The titles are there, the section is just a duplication.
I don't know what the requirement to proceed on would be.
Because nothing's really changed.
Nothing's changed except the
So
identification.
now you're reading it again by title only.
Because we didn't add anything, didn't take anything out. It's just the substance changed because it was,
So you're just changing the title.
so we do title.
I think you can,
I don't see why.
I'm not certain, but I think you can read it by title.
The context didn't change.
Correct. What do you think, Linda?
Well, we didn't change anything, we just corrected the numbers. To make
The section numbers.
section numbers, we didn't change any verbiage.
Right.
So. I think it would be okay, but.
Yeah, because there's nothing else to be read into it.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing was read into, nothing was read out, except
Just the numbers need to be changed.
indirect section numbers. No words were changed.
Didn't change the title, we didn't change anything except the number.
Great.
So that really shouldn't
Shouldn't be that big of a.
be changing the document.
You changed this-
It's not changing the document content.
No,
And it's not moving any of the contents around the titles.
you changed this right application. You changed the second, section 14 to the appropriate section 50. We changed the previous section,
The second 14.
I can't read it, see.
13. Change section 13 to 15, the second 13.
Okay, we changed the second section 13
Uh,
to section 50. The next section, fire hydrants, was originally section
14.
14. We changed it to 16. The last page, section, what was section 15, penalties and suspension of rules, we changed to section 17. What was section 60, repeater severance clause and saving clause, we changed to section 18. And the last section, enactment, we changed to section 19. Okay. So we will reread our second reading by title. City of Sumter, ordinance number 2020-3. Section 1, rules and regulations, definition of terms. Section 2, service. Section 3, applications. Section 4, main extensions. Section 5, water services. Section 6, plumbing. Section 7, standby fire protection service connections. Section 8, notices. Section 9, billing and payment. Section 10, delinquent accounts. Section 11, collection of bills, delinquent and penalty fees. Section 12, meter error. Section 13, discontinuance of service. Section 14, restoration of service. Section 15, responsibility for equipment. Section 16, fire hydrants. Section 17, penalties and suspension of rules. Section 18, repeater, severance clause and saving clause. Section 19, enactment. That completes the second reading by title only. Entertain a motion to pass and accept ordinance number 2020-3 as read.
Make a motion to accept ordinance number 2020-3 as read.
To a second,
Well, second.
Turn seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passage of ordinance number 2020-3 is unanimous.
Let's check the sections on that.
Yeah.
These are nice, small ones.
On this one? It's gonna, oh, we're not gonna read it by the time when we do it, the second go around, and then we write the second to read by the article, because there's a lot of sections, you can do it by the section.
Right.
Under
the
title.
section.
Title only would be article.
Okay.
Which one are you looking at?
The sewer.
No, oh, sure, the longer one.
When compared to the other two, speed it up, this is easier. Than the other one.
It looks like all the article numbers and
Yeah, they're
section
all-
numbers are fine.
Yeah. Six sections.
And Renee, you made all the corrections on this, that are underlined.
Are we ready to
Uh,
Which one?
Sewer.
Yep.
I make a motion to read the sewer ordinance first time in full.
I make the motion that we read the ordinance number 2020-2. Sewer ordinance in full.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Renee, please proceed.
Do you want to plan?
Excuse me.
Sumter. Since no 2022. Ordinance regulating the use and construction of community and on-site sewers and drains, private sewage disposal, the installation and connection of building sewers, sewer connection fees, the discharges of water and waste into the community and on-site sewer systems, providing penalties for violations thereof, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, in the city of Sumter, county of Baker, state of Oregon. The city of Sumter, county of Baker, state of Oregon, ordains as follows. Article by declaration on intent. The city of Sumter, hereinafter called city, in a further desire to define its responsibilities and the responsibilities of property owners to the community sewer system and on-site sewer systems and the availability of the system and requirements for its use of its residents, sets out the following requirements. Article 2, definitions. Unless the context specifically indicates otherwise, the meaning of terms used in this ordinance and users charge ordinance shall be as follows. Section 1. Commercial buildings shall mean all buildings or premises used for any purpose other than a residence or multiple residence building. Section 2. Shall mean any individual, company, firm, association, society, corporation, or group. Singular includes the plural. Section 3. A sewer, as defined by the Oregon Plumbing Specialty Code, shall mean that part of the system of drainage piping that conveys sewage into a septic tank, cesspool, or other treatment unit that begins 5 feet outside the building or structure within which the sewer originates. Section 4. It shall mean a building or structure constructed and used primarily for family residential purposes, including but not limited to single-family structures, structures which provide for 2 or more families in mobile homes. Section 5. Community sewer system shall mean all public sewers operated under the city's authority. Section 6. The septic tank shall mean a 2-compartment tank installed between the building sewer and the community sewer system. TEG system is a gravity system. F system is a pumping system. Section 7. The treatment works shall mean any treatment works operated by the city, including interceptor tanks, holding ponds, or irrigation systems. Section 8. The site system shall mean a septic tank and drain field or mounted or other collection, treatment, and disposal system that is initiated and completed on private property and is not connected to the community sewer system. Section 9. Thus shall mean any discharge of water, sewage, or industrial waste which in concentration of any given constituent or in quantity of flow exceeds for any period of duration longer than 15 minutes more than 5 times the average 24-hour concentration of flow during normal operation. Section 10. Storm drain shall mean a drainage system which carries storm and surface waters and drainage but excludes sewage and industrial waste and other polluted water. Section 11. Public sewer shall mean the community sewer system. Section 12. Public works employee shall mean the city employee authorized to act on behalf of the city regarding the community sewer system. Individual acts in accordance with direction from the city council. Section 13. This shall mean water carrying human wastes, including kitchen, bath, and laundry wastes from residences, buildings, industrial establishments, or other places, together with such groundwater infiltration, surface waters, or industrial waste as may be present. Section L4. Fluent sewer shall mean that part of the community sewer system located between an interceptor tank and a street sewer. Section 15. Piping drain as defined by the Oregon Plumbing Specialty Code shall mean the part of the lowest piping of a drainage system that receives the discharge from soil, waste, and other drainage pipes inside the walls of the building and conveys it to the building sewer beginning 5 feet outside the building wall. Section 16. Sewer shall mean any property that has city sewer service. Article 3. An installation of sewer system. Section 1. Shall be unlawful for any person to place, deposit, or permit to be deposited in any unsanitary manner on public or private property within the city of Sumter any sewage or human excrement. Section 2. Shall be unlawful to discharge to any natural outlet or stream within the city or in any area under the jurisdiction of the city any sewage or other polluted waters, except where suitable treatment has been provided in accordance with subsequent provisions of this ordinance. Section 3. Shall be unlawful to construct or maintain any dirty vault, septic tank, cesspool, or other facility intended or used for the disposal of sewage except as provided in this ordinance and approved by the city, or as approved by Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. Section 4. As stated in Section 6. The owner of any commercial building or residence used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or any other purpose, abutting an available city sanitary sewer line, is required at their own expense to have installed an STEG/STEP system and connect such facility to the public sewer in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance within 30 days after date of official notice from the city to do so, except as otherwise provided. Section 5. On the failure of the owner to connect his premises to the city sewer system as required by this ordinance, the city, after giving said owner an opportunity to be heard before the city council, may proceed to connect said premises to the city sewer system. In accordance with the same procedure as if owner were connecting as provided in this ordinance. Costs thereof shall be charged against and become a lien upon said property and may be recovered by action of law or may be certified for collection by the tax collector as provided in Rs. 224 and 454. Addition thereto, any person failing to comply with the written notice mentioned in Article 3, Section 4 hereof in violation of the provisions of this ordinance and subject to the penalties. Purposes of maintenance and installation by the city upon the failure of the owner to connect as required by this ordinance, the city shall have the right to enter said premises for purposes of construction and maintenance of any facilities necessary to install the interceptor/STEG/STEP system and thereafter maintain the same as reasonably required for such purposes. Section 6. In the initial construction phase of the treatment system, it shall be the responsibility of the property owner to arrange for and pay city-approved licensed contractor to install suitable facilities from property line to point of city sewer connection subject to the permit provisions contained in Section 2. Article 4. Section 7. City may refuse connection, require pretreatment of wastewater, or discontinue service when such action is deemed necessary in order to prevent discharges into the system which would be harmful to. Article 4. Site sewer system. Section 1. Community sewer system is not available. The building sewer shall be connected to an on-site disposal system, complying with the provisions of the article and the laws of the state of Oregon and the county of Baker and approved by the city. Interceptor tank must comply with city specifications for future hookup to the community sewer system. Section 2. For commencement of construction of an on-site sewer disposal system, which includes repair, alteration, or expansion of any existing system, the owner shall first obtain a written permit from the state of Oregon, Department of Environmental Quality, or equivalent agency, as may be required. Section 3. Such time as a community sewer becomes available to the property served by an on-site sewage system, or upon failure of current system with direct connection through an interceptor tank shall be made to the community sewer in compliance with this ordinance and is determined necessary by action of the city. Meantime, any septic tanks, cesspools, and similar private sewage disposal facilities that do not meet requirements of the ordinance shall be abandoned, removed and/or filled in within 1 year in accordance with the state law at no expense to the city. Section 4. Statement contained in this article shall be construed to interfere with any additional requirement that may be imposed by the state of Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. Article B. Community sewer system connections. Section 1. Community sewer system is presently designed as limited in capacity for both initial hook UPS and flow through the system. Connections to the community sewer system shall be permitted only after the city has determined that there is a demonstrated need for such connection. Connections shall be allowed outside the corporate city limits without written consent of the city. Section 2. Unauthorized person shall uncover, make any connections with or opening into, use, alter, or disturb any community sewer or property of the city related to the community sewer system without first obtaining a permit from the city of Sumter. In addition to any requirements of the state of Oregon, the permit application shall include any plans, specification, and easement to such form prescribed by the city, granting access for installation and maintenance for the interceptor STEG/STEP system. Permit inspection fee for residential or commercial buildings shall be paid to the city at the time the application is filed. It shall be set by resolution. Section 3. Costs and expenses incident to the installation and connection of the building sewer to the community system shall be borne by the property owner, including the costs of all interceptor tanks or connecting lines that need to be installed to service the property. Property owner shall reimburse the city for any loss or damage that may directly or indirectly occur from the installation of the building sewer. Section 4. Where possible, the building sewer shall be brought to the building at an elevation below the lowest sewer drain. All buildings in which any building drain is too low to permit gravity flow to the public sewer, sanitary sewage carried by such building drain shall be lifted by an approved means and discharged to or from the interceptor tank and public sewer system at no cost to the city. Section 5. Person shall make connection of roof downspouts, exterior foundation drains, area drains, or other sources of surface runoff or groundwater to a building sewer or building drain which in turn is connected directly or indirectly to the public sewer. Section 6. Connection of the building sewer into the interceptor tank and community sewer system shall conform to the requirements of the state of Oregon Department of Environmental Quality and the city. Section 7. Applicant for the building sewer permit shall notify the city when the building sewer is ready for inspection and connection to the public sewer. Connection shall be under the supervision of the city's representative or the public works employee, as well as any inspection from other governmental agencies. Piping, fitting, or tankage shall be backfilled or covered in any way until the public works employee or city's representative has inspected and approved the work. Use in private property disturbed in the course of the work shall be set to grade of adjacent ground. Section 8. Excavations for the effluent phase of the sewer system installation shall be adequately guarded with barricades and lights to protect the public from hazard. Excavation shall comply with any excavation standards required by the city, Baker County, or the state of Oregon. Article 6. Connection fees. Section 1. Connection fees imposed by this section pertain to sewage system service to existing buildings and to vacant lots that in the judgment of the council of the city may reasonably be served by such system. Fee for connection to such system shall be set by resolution. Fees for connections of existing buildings to the system shall be due within 30 days of notice to connect, sent to all affected property owners by the city. Permits have been obtained pursuant to Article E, Section 2 connection fees for vacant lots and future building within the city limits shall be payable in advance. Applicants for connections to be made after completion of construction of the system shall pay a fee set by resolution. Article 7, to the public sewers. Section 1. Person shall discharge or cause to be discharged any storm, surface, groundwater, roof runoff, subsurface drainage, uncontaminated cooling water, or unpolluted industrial waters to any sanitary sewer. Section 2. Person shall discharge or cause to be discharged any of the following described waters or wastes to any public sewers. Gasoline, benzene, naphtha, fuel oil, or other flammable, or explosive liquid, solid, or gas. Any waters or wastes containing toxic, dangerous, hazardous, or poisonous solids, liquids, or gases in any quantity or concentration, either singly or by interaction with other wastes to injure or interfere with any sewage treatment process, constitute a hazard to humans or animals, create a public nuisance, or create any hazard in the receiving waters of the public sewer, holding ponds, land treatment site, etc. Any waters or wastes having a pH lower than 5 or having any other corrosive or synergistic property capable of causing damage or hazard to structures, equipment, and personnel of the city. Solid or viscous substances in quantities or of such size capable of causing obstruction to the flow in the public sewer or other interference with the proper moderation of the sewage works such as, but not limited to ashes, plastics, oil, underground garbage, whole blood, wash manure, air, and fleshing, entrails and paper dishes, cups, milk containers, etc., either whole or ground by garbage grinders. And waste is not retreated by an interceptor tank. Section 3. Person shall discharge or cause to be discharged the following substances, water, or wastes, if it appears likely in the opinion of the city that such wastes can harm either the sewage treatment process, or equipment, have an adverse effect on the receiving stream, or can otherwise endanger life, limb, public property, or constitute a nuisance. Forming their opinion as to the acceptability of these wastes, the city will give consideration such factors as to quantities of subject wastes in relation to flows and velocities in the sewers, capacity of the sewage treatment facility, holding ponds, and other pertinent factors. Substances prohibited are any liquid or vapor having a temperature higher than 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Any water or waste containing fats, gas, grease, oils, whether emulsified or not, in excess of 100 mg/1 or containing substances which may solidify or become viscous at temperatures between 32 and 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Any garbage that has not been properly shredded. Any water or waste containing strong acid, iron, pickling wastes, or concentrated plating solutions, whether neutralized or not. Any waters or wastes containing iron, chromium, copper, zinc, and similar objectionable or toxic substances, or wastes exerting an excessive chlorine requirement, to such degree that any such material received in composite sewage of the sewage treatment network exceeds the limits established by the city for such materials. Any waters or wastes containing phenols or other taste or odor reducing substances, in such concentrations exceeding limits which may be established by the city as necessary, after treatment of the composite sewage, to meet the requirements of the state, federal.
He died.
Your guy died.
He died.
Public agencies or jurisdictions for such discharge to the land treatment system. Radioactive wastes or isotopes of such half-life or concentration as may exceed limits established by the public works employee in compliance with applicable state or federal regulations. Any waters or wastes having a pH in excess of 9.5. Materials which exert or cause unusual concentrations of inert suspended solids such as but not limited to fuller's earth, lime slurries, and lime residues or dissolved solids such as but not limited to sodium chloride and sodium sulfate. 2. Excessive discoloration such as but not limited to dye waste and vegetable tanning solutions. 3. Unusual bond, chemical oxygen damage, or chlorine requirements in such quantities as to constitute a significant load on the sewage treatment networks. 4. Unusual volume of flow or concentration of wastes, constituting sludge as defined herein. Waters or wastes containing substances which are not amenable to treatment or reduction by the sewage treatment processes employed, or facility effluent cannot meet the requirements of other agencies having jurisdiction over discharge to the land treatment system. Section 4. Any waters or wastes are discharged or are proposed to be discharged to the public sewers, which waters contain the substances or possess the characteristics enumerated in Section 3 of this article, and which in the judgment of the city may have a harmful effect upon the sewage works, processes, equipment, or receiving waters, or which otherwise create a hazard to life or constitute a public nuisance, the city may reject the wastes. Require pretreatment to an acceptable condition for discharge to the public sewers at no cost to the city. Require control over the quantities and rates of discharge. /or. Require payment to cover the added cost of handling and treating the waste not covered by existing taxes or sewer charges. Section 5. Grease, oil, such as from restaurants, and sand interceptors shall be provided by any facility when, in the opinion of the city, they are necessary for the proper handling of liquid wastes containing these or other components in excessive amounts, or any flammable wastes, sand, or other harmful ingredients. Interceptors shall be of a type and capacity approved by the appropriate governmental agency in the city and shall be located as to be readily and easily accessible for cleaning and inspection. Shall be the responsibility of the facility owner to install, operate, and maintain these interceptors. Section 6. Preliminary treatment or flow equalizing facilities are provided for any waters or wastes. They shall be maintained continuously in satisfactory and effective operation by the owner's expense. Article 8. Responsibility for damage. Section 1. Unauthorized person shall maliciously, willfully, or negligently break, damage, destroy, uncover, deface, or tamper with any structure or ordinance, or equipment which is part of the public sewage works. Person violating this provision shall be subject to immediate arrest under charge of disorderly conduct or criminal mischief. Section 2. All times all building sewer lines to any interceptor tank and applicable pump. The maintenance of those lines belongs to the private property owner and are the owner's responsibility for maintenance and upkeep. Pumping from an interceptor tank is allowed. Step. The owner shall be responsible for installation of the electrical panel and wiring from the residence or business to the interceptor tank and shall pay all associated power costs. Pumping of interceptor tank, when the city determines necessary, is the responsibility of the city. Section 3. Any damage to the interceptor tank, public treatment works or connecting lines is the result of a negligent or intentional act of any individual. That individual shall be responsible for the cost of any and all repairs to the lines. Agreement for payment is not reached between the city and the parties. The parties causing the damage shall also be responsible for any reasonable attorney's fees incurred by the city regarding this matter in any court of appeal. Article 9. Powers and authority of inspectors. Section 1. City and other duly authorized employees of the city bearing proper credentials and identification shall be permitted to enter all properties for the purposes of inspection, observation, measurements, sampling, and testing in accordance with the provisions of this ordinance. Section 2. City and other duly authorized employees of the city bearing proper credentials and identification shall be permitted to enter all private properties through which the city holds a duly negotiated easement for the purposes of, but not limited to, inspection, observation, measurement, sampling, repair and maintenance of any portion of the sewage works lying within said easement. Entry and subsequent work, if any, on said easement, shall be done in full accordance with the terms of the duly negotiated easement pertaining to the private property involved. Article X penalties. Section 1. Person found to be violating any provision of this ordinance shall be served by the city with written notice stating the nature of the violation and providing a reasonable time limit for the satisfactory correction thereof. Offender shall, within the period of time stated in such notice, permanently cease all violations. Section 2. Violation of any of the provisions of this ordinance which in the opinion of the city shall in any way pose a danger or threat to any inhabitant of the city of Sumter or may harm any part of the sewer system shall be cause for the city to disconnect water use and or enter onto the violator's property and break and plug the connection to the community sewer system at property owner's expense until such time as the cause of damage to the community sewer system and all fees have been paid. Section 3. Person who continues a violation beyond the time limit provided for in Article X, Section 1, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction thereof shall be fined in the amount not exceeding $500 for each violation. Section 4. Person violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall become liable to the city for any expense, loss, or damage occasioned the city by reason of such violation. Section 5. Day any provisions are violated, or continues to be violated after notice is given, is a separate violation. Successive notices are not required for successive violations. Article 11 Construction. Section 1. For grades. Sewers shall be laid in accordance with current plumbing code. Section 2. Release. The grade of the sewer in Article 11, Section 1 does not meet current plumbing code. The property owner shall sign and acknowledge a grade release in a form approved by the city, the effect of which shall be to release the city from all future claims for damages due to the installation of said sewer. If there is doubt about the grade, a grade release shall be procured before the pipe is laid. Upon inspection, the grade is inadequate. The grade release shall be filed in the office of the recorder before any backfilling takes place. Section 3. Construction specifications. Materials, pipe, and fittings used in the construction of effluent sewer lines on private property must meet current plumbing codes. Section 4. Interceptor tanks shall be approved by the city and must meet Department of Environmental Quality guidelines. Section 5. Minimum interceptor tank sizes shall be 1,000 gallons per residence. Minimum interceptor tank size for commercial or multi-residence shall be in accordance with requirements set forth by the Department of Environmental Quality. Article 12. Abandoned service laterals. Section 1. Building laterals to be abandoned shall be capped with a watertight permanent plug at the property line in accordance with the city's standards and inspected by the city prior to closure. Section 2. The property owner's responsibility to ensure that no other structure is connected to the service lateral being abandoned. The served lateral to be abandoned is serving more than one structure. A new connection to the city's system for the structure, S. Still using the system must be provided for the structure, S. Article 13. Validity. Section 1. Ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Section 2. Invalidity of any section, clause, sentence, or provision of this ordinance shall not affect the validity of any of the parts of the ordinance which can be given effect without such invalid part or parts. Section 3. Ordinance shall take effect 30 days upon its passage by the City Council of the City of Sumter, Oregon. All the required hearings on this ordinance shall be joined for hearing on one date. Read for the first time in full this 22nd day of December 2020. Read for the second time by title only this 22nd day of December 2020. Passed by vote of the council on this the day of 20.
If there's no objections, I'll entertain a motion to read ordinance number 2020-2 for the second time by title only.
I make a motion to read ordinance number 2020-2 by title only.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Linda Weiss seconds. We'll proceed. We gotta vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it's unanimous. We will go to the second reading by title only. This will be by all. Yeah. City of Sumter ordinance number 2020-2. Article 1, declaration on intent. Article 2, definitions. Article 3, use and installation of sewer system. Article 4, on-site sewer system. Article 5, community sewer system connections. Article 6, connection fees. Article 7, use of the public sewers. Article 8, responsibility for damage. Article 9, powers and authority of inspectors. Article 10, penalties. Article 11, construction. Article 12, capping abandoned service laterals. Article 13, validity. Will entertain a motion to accept ordinance number 2020-2 as read. And
I make a motion that we accept ordinance number 2020-2. As read, that it's the sewer. Ordinance.
for a second,
I second.
Marcia Demaris seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Pass unanimously. All right, that will take effect 30 days from today.
One quick question, if we're gonna go on the vacation. And I don't see it here on this, if we deny a vacate, and we talked about that, they have the right to appeal. Appeal to who? And I don't find it in here. Public hearing, decision,
Somewhere in here, so,
I thought it was.
yes. Let's see.
I didn't want to do the council, man.
Well, they would have to appeal it to the council,
But it doesn't specify.
but it doesn't specify, and so any decision, well, it's under decision, and it's after the hearing that the council decides to grant. That's good. After the hearing that the council decides to deny the petition for vacation, the city council shall issue its denial via resolution.
Well,
I think the appeal,
That
I
would
think,
cover it.
I think the appeal goes to Baker County.
the county, yeah, the county doesn't have any
No, law.
city streets.
Okay.
Or
The
alleys.
city council in granting petition for vacation may impose such conditions or make such reservations and fees to be in the public interest, including but not limited to.
I think that the only time an appeal would be after it has come to council, because we are the top authority. The only time an appeal, which it works in civil court this way. If they have new evidence to present, new facts, to present to us to be considered, then they could appeal it, and we would reconsider the denial based upon new information.
So does that mean that if somebody, when we give a denial, we have to give a reason?
Yes.
I think we would.
Well, yeah, because,
Because if we don't give a reason, then they can't bring.
Well, we would-
because they don't
we would-
know.
What happens, they feel back to you, you cancel. And then go to this court or whatever court. That'd be the next deal.
You mean, file a lawsuit?
Right. If we were involved.
well, it says here that, you know, it can be denied or approved. We make I'm trying to find it now, the recommendations of conditions, we can do, approve, you know, approve it in full or, and I just read it and I can't find it.
You see, well, it goes under petition.
I mean, they're not gonna get, we talked about this before, they're not gonna get to, section F without knowing there's severe problems with that. Remember, we've got those balances all, every time they have to file a fee.
It goes right on down.
Right,
Okay.
so,
Just a question.
Because it says in C1, it's class 1 vacate. Petition to the city, along with the responses to city, public utilities recommend whether.
Oh, well, and D, yeah, shall conduct a public hearing whereupon it may grant or deny the petition in whole or in part. So it's. Didn't mean to bring it up.
Well, the change was just, I mean,
They changed it to fit state
this
statutes.
one, they changed quite a bit compared to what, you know. But again, it's their recommendation of how to do it, so I guess, therefore, their recommendation is.
That's what she said in the letter, it was to cover us.
Yeah, it's basically to cover us.
Yeah, she made, because it was state standards for most of the cities, and she wanted to make sure that we were covered legally.
Well, I know that you talked about when you read it to me that,
Yeah, I read it to Charlie early, and it was to make sure that we were taken care of.
well, the thing is, though, is as I remember, the thing, it says that, in other words, if we say we're not gonna vacate this because of future growth, then they would have no reason to try, they could try to appeal it
Well,
through a higher court.
it's here, right?
But
And
you
it
know,
says that in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
that's
says-
what that says, that's what you read, to me. That was one thing that I got.
Yeah,
And then C number
The last
2,
deal on any ordinance, maybe,
yeah,
or any other one. District court,
Right.
if they're done with you.
yeah, reading it, she did a really good job, it definitely protects the city in all ways.
C2, Marcia, read C2, on page, I don't know what page, because it says that,
Oh, yeah.
so basically it opens the door, if a council on its own, motion to determine the petition should be denied, and hold up, the petitioner shall be given notice of the date of the council will take final action of the denial. So right there, basically, you know, if they want to come and talk to you more, that's their one other chance to come and give them a reason.
Yeah, I just thought I would throw it in there.
Was there a public hearing then somewhere?
Yeah, there is a public hearing in there, yeah. Yeah, they have the right to the public hearing, and it goes in great detail on the public hearing.
If you deny it, they get it, going for another public hearing?
No, within 45 days, the council shall conduct a public hearing whereupon it may grant or deny the petition in whole or in part, granting of the petition may include such
conditions. So they lay out the conditions real well.
And the other thing that changed is we said we had to post it in the paper 3 times, and they said
They changed that one
each
too.
week for 2 consecutive weeks prior to hearing. If there's no newspaper is published in the city, written notice of petition and hearing shall be posted in 3 of the most public places in the city. So does that mean we don't really have to put it in the Baker newspaper since it's not really published in the city?
It's not really,
It is our-
it's not really published in the city, but at the same time,
It's
Baker's always
Considered
there.
a local paper.
I just, you know, I just
So-
said,
It's a,
It may cost us money in the long run.
you know, in court of law, I was told that
Is
if
that
the issue,
city
if we covered all our bases in the city,
yeah.
and we didn't do that, it would be hard pressed to make a case, but it was recommended that we just do both.
So anyway, okay.
Are you done changing everything? now?
I wasn't sure, I just had a question.
Because
Yeah, your question.
we did change the verbiage a lot, so one is
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
we all
what you-
realize it.
I know, but it was just a question.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm good.
So entertain a motion to read ordinance number 2020-4, first time in full.
I'll make a motion to read ordinance number 2020-4 in full.
Second,
I'll second it.
otherwise seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? See, we please punch Fred.
Let's go back.
Ordinance No 2020-4. An ordinance providing the manner and proceedings for vacating or closing streets, alleys, and other public rights of way thereof, in the city of Sumter, county of Baker, state of Oregon. The city of Sumter, county of Baker, state of Oregon, ordains as follows. Section 1. Applicability. Requests to vacate streets, alleys, or other public rights of way or to vacate the dedication of any other public place, or any part thereof, shall be made in accordance with this ordinance. Class 1 vacation. Class 1 vacation is a proceeding initiated by a petitioner to vacate a street, alley, or other public right of way, or any part thereof. Class 2 vacation. Class 2 vacation is a proceeding initiated by the city to vacate right of way, or any part thereof, or to vacate the decision of any other public place, or any part thereof. Section 2. Procedure. Proceedings to vacate a street, alley, or dedication of any other public place or right of way shall follow the procedures set forth in ORS 271.080 to 271.230 in this section. Initiation. Vacations of streets, alleys, public rights of way and other public places, or any part thereof, shall be initiated as follows. The Class 1 vacation is initiated by a petition of a person owning real property abutting the right of way, or any part thereof, to be vacated. The Class 2 vacation is initiated by a resolution of the council. Submittal requirements. Proceedings to vacate a street, alley, or dedication of any other public place or right of way shall follow these submittal requirements. Petition for a Class 1 vacation shall be made on forms provided by the city recorder, contain everything required by ORS 271.080, and be accompanied by the following. A legal description of the ground proposed to be vacated. The purpose for which the ground is proposed to be used. The reason the vacation is requested. Written documentation showing the consent of the owners of all abutting property and of not less than 2/3 in the area of the real property affected thereby. The title report verifying ownership of the property abutting the area proposed to be vacated. Map showing the area proposed to be vacated and the area encompassing the affected area, with tax lots labeled. A list of all properties and owners, by tax lot, within the affected area. Written documentation showing the consent of all utility companies operating within the city's limits. Written documentation showing the consent of the fire department. Completed city application form, and the non-refundable application fee, as set by resolution of the council. For purposes of subsection C, above, the real property affected thereby shall be deemed to be the land lying on either side of the street or portion thereof proposed to be vacated and extending laterally to the next street that serves as a parallel street, but in any case not to exceed 200 feet, and the land for a side of the street for 400 feet along its course beyond each terminus of the park proposed to be vacated. The street is proposed to be vacated to its terminus. The land embracing an extension of the street for a distance of 400 feet beyond each terminus shall also be counted. The resolution initiating a Class 2 vacation shall include a legal description of the proposed area to be vacated. Filing of petition. Petitions for a Class 1 vacation shall be filed with the city recorder. City recorder, in consultation with the city planner, and if necessary, the city attorney, shall determine whether the petition contains the required information and consents. If the petition for a Class 1 vacation contains all the required information and consents, the city recorder shall forward the petition to the city council, along with any responses the city has received from public utilities and recommendations as to whether there appears to be any reason why the petition should be denied, in whole or in part. If the recommendation of the city planner is to deny the petition, in whole or in part, or if the council, on its own motion, determines that the petition should be denied, whole or in part, the petitioner shall be given notice of the date the council will take final action on the denial. If the council determines that there appears no reason why the petition should not be granted, in whole or in part, the council shall set a public hearing on the petition. The public hearing process described above in subsection C 2 and 3 shall occur in accordance with ORS 271.110. The city recorder shall give notice of the petition and end hearing by publishing a notice in the city's official newspaper once each week for 2 consecutive weeks prior to the hearing. No newspaper is published in the city. Written notice of the petition and hearing shall be posted in 3 of the most public places in the city. The notices posted by the city recorder shall describe the ground covered by the petition, give the date the petition was filed, provide the name of at least one of the petitioners, and provide the date when the petition, and any objection or remonstrance to the petition, will be heard and considered by the city council. Within 5 days after the first day of publication of the notice, the city recorder shall cause to be posted or near each end of the proposed vacation a copy of the notice, which shall be headed, Notice of Street Vacation, Notice of Plat Vacation, or Notice of Plat and Street Vacation, as the case may be. This notice shall be posted in at least 2 conspicuous places in the proposed vacation area. The posting on the property and the notices in the newspapers shall occur at least 14 days before the public hearing by the city council. After the city recorder publishes the required notices, they shall obtain from the petitioners a sum sufficient to cover the cost of publication, posting, and other anticipated expenses. City recorder shall hold the sum so obtained until the actual cost has been ascertained, when the amount of the cost shall be paid into the city's accounts and any surplus refunded to the petitioner. Public hearing. In 45 days, the city council shall conduct a public hearing, whereupon it may grant or deny the petition, in whole or in part. Granting of the petition may include such conditions as would appear to be for the public's interest. Any party may speak in person, through an attorney, to present the party's case. Copy of any written testimony or physical evidence which a party desires to have introduced into the record at the time of the public hearing shall be submitted to the city recorder prior to, or at the time the party makes their presentation. The testimony or evidence is not submitted to the city recorder. It shall not be included in the record of the public hearing. No person may speak more than once without obtaining permission from the presiding officer of the city council. Upon being recognized by the presiding officer of the city council, any member of the council, city staff, or the city attorney may question any person who testifies. Testimony shall be directed towards the applicable standards for the vacation and criteria by which the city council grants or denies a request for vacation. City council members shall not participate in the discussion of the vacation or vote on the vacation if the member has an actual conflict of interest as defined by ORS 244.120. City council members shall reveal any ex-parte contacts with regard to the vacation at the commencement of the public hearing. Such contacts impart the council members' impartiality. The council members shall state this fact and abstain from participating in the vacation proceedings. The petitioner has the burden of proof in showing that their vacation petition meets the criteria for a vacation under this ordinance. Criteria. Class 1 or Class 2 vacation shall be approved by the city council only if the vacation meets the following criteria. The area proposed to be vacated is not presently, or will not in the future be, needed for public services, facilities, or utilities. The vacation does not prevent the extension of, or the retention of public services, facilities, or utilities. Public services, facilities, or utilities can be extended in an orderly and efficient manner in an alternate location. The vacation does not impede the future best use, development of, or access to abutting property. The vacation does not conflict with any City of Sumter ordinance. All required consents have been obtained. Notice is required by this ordinance in order 271.080 to 271.130 have been duly given, and the public interest will not be prejudiced by the vacation. Decision. After the hearing, if the council decides to grant the petition for vacation, the city council shall direct the city attorney to prepare the required ordinance for adoption by the city council at its next regularly scheduled meeting. Any expenses incurred by the city in drafting the required ordinance for a Class 1 vacation shall be borne by the petitioner. Payment of any such expenses in a Class 1 vacation shall be paid prior to the council adopting the vacation ordinance. After the hearing, if the council decides to deny the petition for vacation, the city council shall issue its denial via a resolution. The city council, when granting a petition for vacation, may impose such conditions or make such reservations as it deems to be in the public interest, including, but not limited to, preservation of easements for municipal and public utilities in the area vacated. Recordation of vacation ordinance. City recorder shall, upon adoption by the city council of a vacation ordinance, record and file a copy of the vacation ordinance as required by Ordinance 271.160, provided, however, that the vacation ordinance shall not be recorded until all fees have been paid by the petitioner in a Class 1 vacation. All required legal documents have been signed, filed, and if required, recorded, and petitioners for a Class 1 vacation have complied with all conditions attached to the vacation. Mail a certified copy of the vacation ordinance to each public utility relevant to the vacation request. Effective date. The vacation shall be effective until the vacation ordinance is filed by the city recorder with the Baker County Clerk, Baker County Assessor, and Baker County Surveyor. Section 3. Prior vacations. Vacations of streets, alleys, public rights of way, any other public place, or any part thereof, being heretofore declared by the city council are hereby declared to be valid and are confirmed. Section 4. Repeal of conflicting ordinances or provisions. Ordinances or provisions thereof in conflict with this ordinance 2020-4 are hereby repealed in their entirety and deemed void. Section 5. Interpretations, severability, and corrections. Pronouns contained in this ordinance and any variations thereof will be deemed to refer to the masculine, feminine, or neutral, singular or plural, as the identity of the parties may require. Singular includes the plural and the plural includes the singular. Word or is not exclusive. Words include, includes, and including are not limiting. In reference to a particular law, statute, rule, regulation, code, or ordinance includes the law, statute, regulation, code, or ordinance is now enforced and hereafter amended. Any section, subsection, sentence, clause, and slash or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid, unenforceable, and slash or unconstitutional, such invalid, unenforceable, and slash or unconstitutional section, subsection, sentence, clause, and slash or portion will, A, yield to a construction permitting enforcement to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, and B, not affect the validity, enforceability, and slash or constitutionality of the remaining portion of this ordinance. This ordinance may be corrected by order of the city council to cure editorial and slash or clerical errors. Nothing in this ordinance affects the validity of any criminal or civil enforcement actions commenced prior to the adoption of this ordinance. All city ordinances existing at the time such actions were filed will remain valid and in full force and effect for purposes of those actions. Section 6. Effective date. This ordinance is effective 30 days after its enactment by the city council and signed by the mayor in accordance with the city of Sumter's charter. Read in full for the first time this item.
You can tell the attorney looked at this one.
Yeah, they missed a letter,
Yeah.
mixing potions instead of filling out portions.
Where is that?
Section 5, about middle of the paragraph. It says, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, and or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid, unenforceable, and or unconstitutional, such invalid, unenforceable, and or unconstitutional section, subsection, sentence, clause, and or should be portion.
Okay. That's
That's all I see.
all I saw. I was hunting for them this. Well, she said she was gonna make sure we were covered and protected. There's a lot. Well, it's good. That's what they're there for.
Just put in, it puts, pretty much everything on the petition or, have their application and stuff all in order before they even start the process.
I'm just happy we got 10 hours of free water.
That letter, adding that letter changes the word, and we all know what it was supposed to be.
Can we just do it by section 5 again, just reading?
You
Not
said
with the
it-
correction?
subsection clause and or portion.
That's a good question.
You said it
Should be,
changed
will
to
be.
me?
Because we only made one correction, it's in section 5, if we just
Reread
reread section 5 with the correction in it, should be good.
Portion. That should be portion.
You want to add?
Section 5. Interpretations, severability, and corrections. The pronouns contained in this ordinance and any variations thereof will be deemed to refer to the masculine, feminine, or neutral, singular or plural, as the identity of the parties may require. Singular includes the plural and the plural includes the singular. Word or is not exclusive. Words include, includes, and including are not limiting. Any reference to a particular law, statute, rule, regulation, code, or ordinance includes the law, statute, rule, regulation, code, or ordinance is now in force and hereafter amended. Any section, subsection, sentence, clause, and slash or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid, unenforceable, and slash or unconstitutional. Such invalid, unenforceable, and slash or unconstitutional section, subsection, sentence, clause, and slash or portion will, A, yield to a construction permitting enforcement to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law, and B, not affect the validity, enforceability, and slash or constitutionality of the remaining portion of this ordinance. This ordinance may be corrected by order of the city council to cure editorial and slash or clerical errors. Nothing in this ordinance affects the validity of any criminal or civil enforcement actions commenced prior to the adoption of this ordinance. All city ordinances existing at the time such actions were filed will remain valid and in full force and effect for purposes of those actions. Section 6. Effective date. This ordinance is effective 30 days after its enactment by the city council and signed by the mayor in accordance with the city of Sumter's charter. Read in full for the first time this 22nd day of December 2020. Read for the second time by title only this 22nd day of December 2020.
There's no objections, I'll entertain, motion to read ordinance number 2020-4 for the second time by title only.
Make a motion to read ordinance number 2020-4, ordinance by title only.
A second, all second. Charlie Driscoll, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. I will commence reading. City of Sumter, ordinance number 2020-4. Section 1, applicability. Section 2, procedure. Section 3. There it is. Prior vacations. Section 4, repeal of conflicting ordinances or provisions. Section 5, interpretations, severability, and corrections. Section 6, effective date. That completes the reading of ordinance 2020-4 for for the second time by title only. Entertain a motion to accept ordinance number 2020-4 as written and read.
I make the motion we accept ordinance number 2020-4 on vacates as read by title and in full.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
All opposed? No nays, it's passed unanimously.
You in a hurry?
All right.
I'm like Fred over there. I'm tired. I'm one of those.
Okay.
We did good.
We did good. So that's good.
Public comment?
Are we ready?
Thank you for saying, Stevie.
You ready? Everybody go.
You got the patience to do it, I swear.
It's his turn. Public comment.
It is
Public comment.
time.
You can, too. If there's property that's available, please,
Sure.
Yep. Okay.
You
don't want these, you want.
no, I know, I
You want the new
know,
ones.
stop out here and get one.
Yeah, we'll have her,
We'll have one made or whatever.
You guys have to sign, correct? Mayor has to sign them.
Yeah. so yeah, Renee can.
Oh,
Okay.
Renee, tomorrow, can you make a copy of this, you make it? Yep.
You want all three of them or?
no.
Just what's the name? Okay.
I'll print it right now.
He's gonna do it right now.
If there's no further business, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That one passed unanimously.
Yay, that one goes. We move that one along.
Thanks for staying, Skip.
Sure you don't worry about council support. You're always here.